All right, you and I are about to meet a guy obsessed with Demon Queen raising simulators. The premise was simple. I never imagined anyone would agree to tutor our young Demon Queen. For this, you have my deepest gratitude. Cain was absolutely terrified. Under their strict hierarchy, how did Nan dare to speak so casually to a superior ruler? After all, Dantalion was always extremely careful with his business. She then complained, "Lately, I cannot even visit you on floor 72. It is all because of that terrifying girl. Every single time I get close to you, she glares at me as if she wants to murder me." Shortly after, on the floor 69, Demon King Dantalion saw the severe fraud accusation. Watch closely because things are about to get intense. It enraged him instantly. Who on earth had dug up that information? The weapons trade had always been the core of Dantalion's empire. But recently, with high-quality gear flooding in from floor 70, his sales took a truly devastating hit. Piles of weapons stacked up in warehouses without any buyers. But instead of halting production, Dantalion faked the accounts to pretend everything was sold. Even while suffering severe financial losses, he forced himself to maintain his relationship network with key clients. But when the news broke, it looked like he was simply preparing to steal the money and run away. His subordinate quickly said, "Why the visit, Your Majesty?" Nan asked, but she called him impatient. "We will find the one behind this leak immediately, Your Majesty." But there is a much more pressing issue. The blacksmiths are relentlessly demanding payment, and at this critical moment Dantalion did not even have enough cash on hand to pay them. So he ordered them to quiet the merchants while he sold off some assets to raise emergency funds. Right then, the general advised Demon King Dantalion against this. After all, Demon King Andras ruined his own army by running completely out of funds. Following a brief silence, Dantalion coldly commanded, "Fine, get in touch with Decarabia. Before we are devoured by those below, I would rather borrow and cling to someone higher up." Naan soon got the news. And get this, it was exactly what he was scheming. Siri curiously asked how he knew the warehouses were full. Nan smirked. "We actually have those two humans to thank for that little detail. They turned out far more useful than I anticipated. Do not tell me you are doubting your master's judgment." Hearing those words, Siri timidly lowered her head. "No, I did not mean it like that." "Can we not talk inside?" Citri suggested, but Nan refused, stating this was Lady Seer's territory, without a good reason. "It is just that you are paying too much attention to them lately." Nan smiled gently. "I did not expect you to still be so childish. Whatever they say, I am still your master. Regardless, the alliance between floors 68 and 69 will inevitably collapse on its own. Seer, what is your take?" She responded with complete seriousness. "I believe this kind of information is absolutely perfect for stirring up trouble." Naan nodded in satisfaction. "Exactly. That is why I need the Commander Al to handle a certain matter. Could you bring her in, please?" Commander Al soon entered the throne room. Nan announced Dantalion has officially reached out to Decarabia for help. Floor 68 is sending an envoy to 69. If they meet peacefully, it will ruin everything. Seer spoke softly. "You are right. That is why I want you to intercept them." Naan handed his blade over to Commander Al. "Make use of this weapon. This sword is not ours. Judging by its steel and the engravings, it was forged on floor 69. Al caught on immediately. "So, it is a setup. This must be another grand scheme by Lord Nan. She fell to one knee without delay. Even with her high status, she cannot simply invade another sovereign queen's territory whenever she pleases. I will execute this mission for your majesty's glory. In this moment, you have become a true ruler, Siri noted, looking at Nan. Master, did I do well? Nan replied warmly, very well. Now, you are finally starting to look like a genuine demon king. What about my reward? Seer instantly questioned. Na'an pondered for a brief second. Very well, I suppose you deserve one. What kind of stuffed animal do you want this time? Hearing that, Seer grew serious. I do not want a plushie. Then she spun around and walked off in a huff, leaving Nan frozen. Do you think Seer has officially entered her rebellious phase? Shortly after, at the teleportation gate connecting floors 69 and 68, Al gave a quiet warning to everyone present. Come along with me for this wild ride on this mission. They can't reveal their identities or use their authority lightly. The delegation has 15 members. Each will take care of 2, and Vice Commander Varuna and I will handle the rest. It's going to be a massive headache, but if we do it ourselves, nobody will ever trace it back to us. Shortly after, a group dressed in black began stepping out of the teleportation portal one by one. Pay close attention here, because Sitri absolutely lost her mind, feeling like a lowly servant was looking down on her. Instantly, Commander Al, who was hiding nearby, launched a surprise attack, decapitating several hooded figures with a single strike. She then ordered an immediate all-out assault. The sudden ambush left the delegates absolutely zero time to react. In the end, everyone was wiped out in the blink of an eye. Soon, the news reached Dantalion, the demon king of Floor 69. With the entire delegation of Floor 68 dead, they had to alert Decarabia immediately. But the absolute worst part was that the swords used in the assassination belonged to Floor 69 itself. Dantalion knew Decarabia would spot the puppet master in the shadows, but he still wouldn't let things slide. Rather, pay close attention to this. He'd use it as blackmail to squeeze Floor 69, turning their alliance into total servitude, making Dantalion roar in fury. This is Sitri's doing. Send a letter to Decarabia right now and prepare everyone for war. I will make that miserable Sitri kneel and beg for mercy. In the past, anyone else would have paid with their life. Sitri swallowed her rage and revealed her true purpose. Just then, one of Dantalion's subordinates reported that Decarabia's army had already crossed through the teleportation portal. That meant his plan was to force Floor 69 into total submission. Hearing this, Dantalion's soldiers suspected that Decarabia himself might have orchestrated the whole thing from the very start. Enraged demon King Dantalion mobilized his forces to halt the invasion, while over on Floor 72, they updated Siri on the situation. Floor 68 had successfully invaded Floor 69. Siri smiled, noting that everything was playing out exactly as her master predicted. Na'an calmly replied, Siri, let's handle this. Our chance to win while they tear each other apart is finally here. Get the troops ready. The moment Floor 69 and 68 clash, we will make our move right into the chaos. There's no need for a head-on fight, we just need to harass them and distract Decarabia's army. Al nodded in agreement to the order, and Nan entrusted the rest of the mission to her. I know what you're thinking. This is crazy, but Nan actually ordered the merchants evacuated to Floor 70. As ruler of the 71st floor, I have critical business to discuss with the ruler of the 72nd floor. The reason merchants gathered on Floor 69 was simple. They were safe and treated with great respect there. But Dantalion recently betrayed them, and now Floor 68 had dragged itself right into the mess. It was the perfect moment to completely ruin trust in Dantalion, right when Floor 70 could offer far better business deals. Al asked if this needed Queen Citri's approval. Non replied she wouldn't object, she just had to sit back and watch the money roll in. Al understood instantly. If this went according to plan, Dantalion would end up digging his own grave. Leave it to me. I'll execute the plan. After the commanders left, Ciri suddenly let out a soft smile. When Naan asked what she was laughing about, she confessed she had a brilliant idea on her mind. Ciri suggested invading Floor 69 directly while distracting Decarabia, but Naan frowned at the massive risk of her idea. In the end, they would have to fight Decarabia face to face. Ciri looked up and begged to join the battlefield. I've finished my studies and I've already mastered most of the ancient magic you taught me. Right then, her driver realized Naan's play. He was using Citri's own title to remind everyone of Seer's true sovereign status. Hearing that, Naan flatly refused her request. It was still far too early to send her into active warfare. He told her to wait until she grew up. Ciri pouted. She had matured so much. So, why did her master treat her like a child? In truth, with Ciri's current strength, almost no demon king of the lower floors could actually stand against her. Even so, she was still a child to him. If she got hurt or died, everything Naan fought for would completely fall apart. Because of this, Naan comforted her and gently asked her to show just a little more patience. He promised her that when they attacked Floor 68, he would personally lead the frontline assault. Seeing Ciri still upset, Naan had to give in. He promised that once this ended, he'd grant her any wish. Hearing that, Ciri's face lit up with pure joy. Really, Master? If that's the case, then I want to go on a trip with you. Naan thought about it and realized they'd never gone out just to have fun. So he accepted her proposal. Receiving his permission, Ciri got so excited she practically danced like a little girl. Soon night began to fall. Citri ordered her guard Baphomet to wait here, saying it would be quick. And that's where we leave things today, with Ciri dreaming of traveling alongside the one person she loves most in the world. Come along with me as we witness this incredible story. He was her master, hers alone, and to finally be together, this war had to end as soon as possible. So it was time to take matters into her own hands, even if it meant becoming a disobedient, rebellious princess. The very next morning, Seer demanded that Commander Al take her straight to the battlefield. Al knew her swordsmanship had reached new heights, and she had mastered Lord Naan's ancient legendary magic. She would be a massive asset in battle, but after a tense moment of hesitation, Commander Al refused. I am truly sorry, Your Majesty, but we must carry out this dangerous mission alone. If Lord Naeon still forbids you from fighting, he must have his reasons, Al argued, earning a deadly, serious glare from Seer. Commander Al, who do you actually serve as your sovereign? My word is absolute law. The decision is made. From now on, I fight beside you on the front lines. Do not worry, I will protect myself perfectly well. Next, Naan led her to the main hall. The moment she sat, Citri sneered, asking when the little girl would arrive. Deep down, Seer made a silent vow, Master, wait for me. I will end this quickly and find you. Meanwhile, Talion, the demon king of Floor 69, stood strong on the ramparts, holding off the invading army from Floor 68. From their high vantage point, the defending soldiers rained down an endless barrage of arrows. Trapped under this lethal rain of steel, the enemy could not advance a single step, allowing the defenders to unleash their devastating mana cannons. Witnessing this horrific carnage, countless enemy troops retreated in absolute terror. At this rate, breaking their defense was impossible. But pay attention here. A booming voice suddenly echoed, ordering everyone to fall back. In a flash, a warrior in gold armor swung his massive blade, slicing through the incoming arrows with ease. Even against the massive blast of a mana cannon, he merely raised his arms and blocked it effortlessly. This was Balthazar, a 5-star general serving Demon King de Carabia. Faced with such a monster, the wall defenders instantly erupted into sheer panic. It was all real. And trust me, right here is where Nan felt the absolute terror of being trapped. "I have urgent financial matters to settle," she said before glaring at Nan and questioning his incredibly arrogant attitude. Though Dantalion screamed orders, his men were too paralyzed to react. Dantalion cursed them as useless trash, sneering that cheap mercenaries were always completely worthless. He then thrust his hands out, summoning a massive green magic circle that dominated the sky. Immediately, a roaring wave of hellfire completely swallowed Balthazar whole. Seizing the moment, Dantalion ordered his troops to advance. Believing Balthazar was reduced to ashes, they flung the gates open to press their advantage. They truly believed that with the 5-star general dead, their golden chance to counterattack had finally arrived. But just as they celebrated, do you know what happened? Out of nowhere, a massive golden blade pierced right through the chest of the vanguard general. The strike was so blindingly fast, the commander died without ever seeing who actually killed him. Emerging from the smoke, Balthazar mocked him, saying his fire was merely lukewarm and pathetic. "Are you trying to seduce me with that ridiculous confidence?" she mocked. But Nan calmly replied that he managed all the finances. "Did you honestly think that weak spark made you our king's equal?" Dantalion furiously grit his teeth. "You arrogant bastard! You'd be dead without that armor." Balthazar laughed, boasting it was a royal gift. "If you can't even scratch it, blame your own weakness." But mid-sentence, a sudden chill of danger hit him. In that split second, a colossal boulder came hurtling down directly at him with insane speed. He barely dodged it, hitting the dirt in a pathetic, clumsy heap. Then a voice teased, "What a pity you avoided that." Dantalion was completely stunned. Why on earth was Demon Queen Seer standing right there? She seemed to be helping him, but a queen never acts without a price. Seer stared down at the general. "You are the 5-star general Balthazar." "Correct, indeed," he smirked, rising. "It is an honor, you know me. But what brings the demon queen of Floor 72 here?" Seer calmly replied, "I have business here, and you are in my way, so I came to remove you." Balthazar mocked her youth. Citri laughed internally. He could not even tear his eyes away from her. Men really were so incredibly predictable. "You do not know your place. Fine, I will take floor 72 as well. His Majesty will be pleased." Meanwhile, Seer began channeling mana through her vibrant red hair. As she focused, ignition magic flared at her fingertip. In the very next second, a terrifying skull made of pure fire manifested right before Balthazar. Balthazar froze in absolute shock. "What is this?" She cast high-tier magic without chanting a single word. Damn it. Her attack has not even landed yet, but my armor is already melting. This is nothing like Dantalion's magic. If she thinks this beats me, she is wrong, and you and I will see who falls first. Get ready, because we're about to watch how underestimating our female lead costs him everything. Before Balthazar even finishes speaking, Seir is already right in front of him. With a single blink, she slices Balthazar's head clean off and sheathes her sword with absolute calm. Way too boring for her. But the Demon King Dantalion is left in complete shock. He couldn't even track her movement. Right at that exact moment, Commander Ao finally arrives with her soldiers. Citre added that during the human-adventurer clash, she lost many soldiers trying to protect their pathetic 72nd floor. Hearing that Seer took down Balthazar, she cannot hide her utter amazement. Her queen had actually pulled it off, but Al quickly warns her that war with the 68th floor is now inevitable. Seer simply asks why. If we wipe them all out, nobody will know, right? But Al explains that this is not their entire army. The other 5-star generals must have noticed by now. Seer decides to blame everything on the 69th floor. We will say we were just passing through and that Demon King Dantalion begged us to help them. Suddenly, she frowns, feeling a strange shiver run down her spine, but immediately gives a very calm order. Let's finish off everyone and talk to Dantalion. My master taught me that sometimes you must threaten or eliminate your enemy. Now, pay attention here, Commander Ao. I leave these soldiers to you. She immediately bows, accepting the command. Everyone prepare for battle. By Her Majesty's direct order, we are going to completely wipe out the enemy. The soldiers on the wall don't understand what's happening, they only see that the 72nd floor is coming to help. Therefore, I demand massive compensation and full payment for my troops, she declared. But Nan immediately questioned her. Meanwhile, a spell charged with terrifying mana begins to take shape once again right in Seer's hands. She aims straight at the fortress and boom! An overwhelming force completely wraps around the entire structure in a second. Dantalion screams in a rage, demanding to know why she is attacking them now, but Demon Queen Seer responds coldly. Without me, you would have been destroyed along with your stronghold. He laughs angrily, telling her not to mock him. He boasts that he can dispel the magic himself, but suddenly realizes his own mana will not respond at all. His heart sinks. Could this young girl really have mastered such highly advanced magic already? Seer calmly tells him he can resist if he wants, but he either dies under this castle or serves her. In exchange, she will protect the 69th floor. Dantalion realizes this is the true overwhelming power of the 72nd floor. Perhaps he can exploit this massive opportunity. With that, Dantalion kneels in deep respect and swears to follow her from now on. Seer nods, satisfied with a simple good. And whose idea was it to send those soldiers? Nan asked. Mine, obviously, Citre smirked. They formally seal their alliance and soon reach the meeting room where Ao asks her something in a low whisper. My queen, are you sure about this? It is the first time you have acted in total defiance of Master Nan's advice. Sahir tries to keep her composure, saying she is a queen, and even if her master gets angry, she did the right thing. She claims she is fine, but her body is trembling. And right now, well, look who just kicked the door open in a total rage. After desperately searching for her everywhere, he finally manages to find Seer in this very place. Seeing Nan's dark expression, Seer gets incredibly scared and quickly tries to justify why she acted all alone. But before she can speak, Nan pulls her tightly into his arms with pure relief, whispering in her ear that her safety is all that matters. Hearing those warm words, Seer breaks down in tears and sincerely apologizes to her beloved master. I should not have left alone. Just a moment earlier, Nan had learned from Cain that she disobeyed his direct orders. That is why he rushed to the battlefield to make sure she was safe agonizing over whether he had failed her somehow. With your weak forces, you never would have stopped the humans, right? Hearing this, Nan flatly replied seriously, "That is complete garbage." After all, this was the very first time she had ever dared to disobey him. If anything terrible had happened to her in battle, Nan would have never been able to forgive himself. Luckily, seeing her unharmed calms his panic. Nan demands everyone leave the room, but Demon King Dantalion just scoffs at him. Furious Nan releases a terrifying spiritual pressure and coldly orders that man to get the hell out of there. Then he turns to Seer, demanding an explanation, and she answers with an incredibly soft, trembling voice. "I only wanted to help, so I took the initiative, but I swear I handled the whole situation correctly. I made no mistakes, avenged the 69th floor, and even eliminated a powerful 5-star general." Nayan sighs, admitting she did well. But her responsibility is massive, and she must proceed with extreme caution from now on. "I do not want you showing your full potential yet. Remember that information is the true key to power. The less they know about your abilities, the better for us. Since we are here now, we will find a solution together. You and I both saw this coming, and yes," Nan firmly repeated it, while her eyes filled with murderous rage. "Is this the signed alliance insane? Come along with me next time to see how they use this floor as a commercial base. Come along with me as we watch how Demon King Dantalion gets reduced to a mere paperwork manager." I casually commented on the clean ending. Sierra immediately asked if I would accept her request. With a soft sigh, I agreed to her trick. "But first we must handle floor 68. I highly doubt Decarabia will just sit back." Sierra then turned her gaze to Dantalion. "Let us continue the meeting. Dantalion, do you know Decarabia's total military strength? 25,000 infantry and 5,000 cavalry." Dantalion replied, along with over 1,000 mage soldiers. Hearing those numbers, Seer shook her head. Dantalion was surprised, but after a moment he finally understood. After today's brutal battle, their forces should be cut in half, leaving them with only around 15,000. Seer nodded. "I asked if there was any way to fight this war while keeping our base safe. This woman really had the nerve to act so arrogant, using her rank solely to demand a massive payout. Sierra suggested calling in Lady Citri to help us, but I could not agree to that idea. This will turn into a full-scale war, making casualties inevitable." Sierra looked guilty, but I gently comforted her. "Do not lose heart. Take this as a lesson. Things only went well before because of my gaming experience. But now pay close attention because the plan just derailed and I had to step in myself." Meanwhile, word reached the Demon King's castle on the 68th floor that General Balthazar was dead and his forces had collapsed. Demon King Decarabia was absolutely furious, demanding how they dared call themselves 5-star generals with such pathetic strength. "I trusted you, and this is the result." His terrified subordinates immediately started begging. "Please give us another chance, Your Majesty. We will destroy Dantalion." Decarabia replied with an icy glare. "Fine, but bring me the girl's head too." Shortly after 3 generals gathered with incredibly dark expressions. Furious, Citri slammed her foot down, shattering the cup before her. "Have you lost your mind?" she roared, but Nan remained unfazed. They had only bragged earlier to save their own skins, and now they had absolutely no plan. To make matters worse, the enemy had a legendary warrior, like Commander Al, fighting on their side. After talking it over, they decided to strike first. After all, their army vastly outnumbered the enemy. But right then, a scout came rushing in to report that the enemy was already marching to attack. I know what you're thinking. Is our hero actually scared? Honestly, yes, the front lines had me completely terrified. I was not sure I could survive this mission alone, which left Commander Al in complete shock. Lord Dantalian always had a master plan. He never acted without one. I understood his concern, but this time everything was already ruined. I did not blame Al, I just realized I still did not understand Seer. Al asked why Her Majesty Seer would take such an insane risk. I replied that it was the fastest path with the least damage. Shocked, Al asked if I planned to go alone. Meanwhile, maidservants dressed the tiny demon queen. She was shaking with anxiety, terrified of meeting the new tutor who had actually agreed to take on the difficult task of educating her. "Are you really that angry that I called you trash?" he asked, completely ignoring the overwhelming pressure she emitted. Shaking my head, I told him I brought 2 human companions along with me. "I know you do not trust them yet, Commander, so today will be their ultimate test." I looked at them. Now, let us see if keeping you alive was worth it. But deep down, I was still incredibly anxious. The only reason I easily defeated Andromelius before was because I knew all of his weaknesses beforehand. He was strong, but even he did not know his true potential. That was why I kept a seer out of this fight. I knew that once this battle ended, there would not be another chance to test our limits. Just then, the 2 humans reported enemy forces over the hill. The path ahead was absolutely crawling with endless troops. So, I ordered both of them to adapt and act as the situation demanded. I casually suggested we go greet them. Meanwhile, sensing our movement, 2 enemy generals arrived at the valley. But to their absolute shock, only one man walked directly toward them. Nayan raised a hand to shield the kneeling maid. "You forced useless troops on a weak queen, and now you demand payment." Suspecting a trap, they decided to hold their ground and send scouts ahead to investigate the situation. However, Nubia was not buying it at all and wanted to see for herself instantly, spreading her wings and diving forward. She mocked them with pure contempt, asking how long those cowards planned to sit around doing nothing. "He is just one man. Why can you not face him like me? Watch closely. I will show you how terrifying a harpy can be." Watching her, I calmly began reciting a spell. In an instant, massive spikes erupted from the earth, impaling Nubia completely. She did not even have time to react, you guys. Come with me on this one, because even in his final breath, he couldn't believe his life would end like this. The remaining 2 generals completely panicked, watching Nubia, their equal in strength, fall so effortlessly. Right after that, a terrifying surge of energy began leaking from Nan's body once again. In the very next second, a massive beast made of pure mana materialized right behind him. Nan coldly ordered Leviathan to move. "Wipe this place off the map." Instantly, the giant beast, known as Leviathan, charged straight into the chaotic battlefield. If that is not being garbage, then what is Citri's ultimate rage fully boiled over? With absolutely crushing force, Leviathan swept through the surrounding enemy troops in seconds. Under his devastating assault, the enemy army, scattered in pure panic, swallowed and whole by the massive clouds of dust kicked up by the impacts. The enemy general stood there frozen, watching in absolute disbelief. He had never witnessed such mind-blowing, terrifying power in his entire life. Meanwhile, Dan and Ellie watched the clash from a distance, realizing their help was not needed at all during this slaughter. But they had to prove their worth. So, Dan grit his teeth and recklessly leaped off the steep cliff right under them. Simultaneously, the pink-haired Ellie cast a wind spell to skyrocket Dan's speed to the limit. Boosted by the wind, Dan closed the gap with the enemy soldiers in a heartbeat. With his speed and attack power fully buffed, he easily crushed them in a single, sweeping clash. Now pay attention, because seeing humans invading his territory drove an enemy general into a frenzy, triggering his ultimate skill. In seconds, his body expanded into a terrifying, massive, muscular dragon. Faced with this giant monster, Nan swiftly drew his legendary blade. Your disrespect knows no bounds. You brought this upon yourself. Instantly, a deadly, lethal strike flew straight toward Nan. He delivered a lightning-fast slash right across the beast's stomach. Meanwhile, Seer suddenly appeared behind Ellie, asking where her master was. Looking at the massive Leviathan Nan summoned Seer clapped in pure awe. Seer wondered if she could ever be that strong, and Ellie quickly agreed, calling her the Great Demon Queen. I didn't expect such sweet talk from a human, Seer scoffed, giving her a sideways glance. Ellie carefully asked if Nan knew she was here, and Seer confessed she sneaked in just to say hello. Seer glared coldly, asking why she even cared, which made Ellie immediately bow her head in deep apology. I spoke out of line. Seer studied her closely and asked if she had feelings for her beloved master. And what do you think Ellie panicked so hard she dropped to her knees, desperately swearing it wasn't true? Right then, Nan interrupted in surprise, asking what she was doing there, and she squeaked that she came to greet him. Seir looked up. Nan had already eliminated every single threat that could possibly endanger his life. Na'an wanted to resolve this quietly so she could save some of her dignity. Since this was the perfect chance for her to get real combat experience, Nan mentioned that the 68th floor castle was completely unguarded. He ordered her to go finish the job with her commander, and then praised Dan and Ellie for their excellent work. Those 5 years of hard training really paid off. Back home, he would assign them exclusive missions. For now, they needed to rest. With the 68th floor conquered, only finding a certain mysterious item remained. Shortly after, the demon king of that floor fell swiftly under Seir's brutal assault, leaving her deeply disappointed. She couldn't believe a demon king was this pathetic, but Commander Al pointed out that she was just freakishly strong. She had mastered both swordsmanship and ancient magic. But how on earth did Nan learn those lost spells? Just then, Al reminded her they had to keep Dekarabia alive, so Seir grabbed him by the throat with immense force. She nodded, understanding that as long as she didn't kill him, everything would be completely fine. Before long, Dekarabia was beaten to a pulp, left muttering nonsense on the cold ground. But now it seemed he had to take a different approach. So Nan simply snapped his fingers in the air. Even Seir didn't expect him to be so fragile, so she left the area to Commander Al to make her exit. If my master finds out, he's definitely going to hate me. But mid-sentence, Nan kicked the door open and walked in. The two quickly stood at attention, pretending nothing was wrong, making him instantly suspect they were hiding something. Glancing right behind them, he asked if that broken mess on the floor was Dekarabia. Nayan warned them not to lie and to honestly confess if they had made a mistake. Staring at Dekarabia's miserable state, he sighed, telling Seir that since he was still breathing, he wouldn't punish her. Al couldn't help but ask why they needed him alive, since he didn't seem like the type to surrender easily like Dantalion. Na'an calmly replied that he wasn't showing mercy, but rather planning to put him to use. Then he looked at Seir, asking if she was familiar with the legendary Starstones. She nodded, explaining they were this floor's specialty. Nan wanted to compare her testimony with Crowley's intel. The raging fire heading for him vanished instantly, forcing Sitri to stand up in absolute horror. Nan spoke calmly, and that's where we leave it because only the Demon King and his closest circle know where that precious mine is hidden. Stick with me to see how our main character ends up sparing Dekarabia after wiping out all of her minions. She frowned and asked if it was not impossible to brainwash Demon Kings to get information out of them. Just then, Sitri showed up offering to help with her special ability. Honestly, it was a pretty strange sight. She then complained that he did not train with her anymore, dropping everything just to run to his side. Hearing that Seer gave Sitri a glare so terrifying that her heart completely skipped a beat. There was that look again. Seer's cold glare was exactly why Sitri had been avoiding Nan lately. Suddenly, she hesitated to take any action. She feared that using her magic in front of Seer might make her attack right then and there. So, Sitri asked Nan to send Seer out to let her focus on her spell. Nan had no choice but to make Seer wait outside. Siri seemed totally confused. But Master, how will Sitri locate the mine if her absolute specialty is only fire magic? We are civilized demons, why not talk this over? I have an incredibly tempting proposal to make you. Nahan shared her secret. Watch closely here because any man who locks eyes with her will worship her forever. Of course, this hypnotic trick will not work on anyone who is actually stronger than her. But given Dekarabia's weakened state, it was the perfect chance. Before long, Sitri extracted the exact location of the mine. As a reward, she whispered that she would warm his heart even if it hurt. Completely mesmerized, Dekarabia thanked her. Once the trance ended, Sitri revealed to Nan the coordinates of the Starstone mine she got from Dekarabia. Right after that, she asked Nan if she would get a reward for her valuable help. Nan finally replied, I already planned on sharing the minerals, but only if everyone believes you conquered the 68th floor. Sitri's eyes lit up instantly. Does that mean I also get to keep the castle on that floor? Not bad. Naan corrected her immediately. I only mean that the people on the outside will assume you defeated him, claiming an entire castle without losing a single soldier in battle. Do you not think that is a bit shameless? Sitri sneered, a nobody offering me deals. Nan replied firmly, of course, because I know you cannot refuse it. Sitri shyly admitted her worry. But if we do that, the demon kings from higher floors will come hunt me down. Naan brushed it off, offering her half of the gathered minerals. Hearing this, Sitri was completely motivated again. Seriously, I know you saw this coming because she accepted instantly. Naan shook her hand, sealing the major deal. He promised to call her whenever he needed help again. But right as they were shaking hands, Siri suddenly intervened. In theory, this entire matter was supposed to be handled by the demon queen Siri, but her gaze towards Sitri had shifted completely. Within seconds, Sitri quickly retreated while Siri calmly explained herself. She probably had something urgent to handle. Then Nan turned to Seer, asking if they should handle post-war matters first or leave tomorrow. Should I take care of those matters first? Seer asked with absolute seriousness. After all, I am a demon queen. Na'an nodded, suggesting she handle that while he checked out the mine. Shortly after Seer returned to her room, wondering how long it had been since she last held her master's hand. After all, it is about the seal on your body. You once held the 12th rank, but that curse drained your power. She knew perfectly well she was no longer a little girl, and that her master could not treat her like before. But on this solo trip she planned to hold his hand as much as she wanted. Meanwhile, Nan had already brought the stone demon all the way to the mine. Nehan needed the demon to use its scanning ability to identify the minerals hidden deep inside this rocky area. A golden bracelet was supposed to be hidden somewhere nearby. Frankly, Nan had no idea why such an accessory was here, but since it was hidden here, there had to be a reason. He could not understand why the game creators placed it here. Was it just a joke? Either way, after digging a bit, he realized the sheer amount of resources left behind. No wonder Dekarabia could fund a whole empire using nothing but this single mineral vein. And now half of those massive profits belonged to them. Naan had to carefully plan his next move. News of the 69th floor falling would soon reach the other demon kings. He had to use this to build his army. One of the maids comforted her gently, telling her to keep her head held high. If you only came here to repeat what everyone already knows, then get out right now. From here on, advancing without any casualties would be much harder. Right then, the stone demon finally spoke up. Lord Naan. I think I found it. There is something strange nearby. Instantly, Nan fired a spell at the rocky wall ahead. As expected, he pulled a golden band from the rock. Its actual name was the Ancient Gold Bracelet. Within the game, this accessory drastically boosted the growth rate of anyone who equipped it, though he had no idea how that stat boost would work here. Suddenly, Nan realized he forgot to suppress his massive magic power. And trust me, that poor stone demon got so crushed by the pressure, he could not even stand back up. Naan quickly apologizes to the stone demon. He promises to control his mana better. Trust me, you and I are about to watch Nan secure the ultimate protection for Ciri from the Demon King. With this blood pact sealed, Dentalion can never do anything to put the sweet Ciri in any danger. Naan stares him down, declaring that from now on he will be under his absolute information control. Naan continued. He trusts his skills due to his past as king. With everything settled, Nan praises Seer for finally acting like a true sovereign of evil. Now they just need to repair the demon castle on the 69th floor so they can finally move. With the most urgent matters out of the way, it is time for them to start preparing for their journey. Ciri confesses she longs for a peaceful, beautiful spot with nobody around. Naan nods, promising to find the perfect place before sunrise. He tells her to rest easy, then suddenly pulls out that mysterious bracelet he acquired not long ago. As he hands it over, a beautiful smile of pure happiness lights up Ciri's face as she holds her new gift. Deeply moved, she promises to wear it forever. Now, pay attention here, because the very next day, Nan takes her straight to the human realm. Before this, Nan had already ordered Dan and Ellie to disguise themselves as adventurers, to infiltrate human territory and keep watch. Since they have to split up and go to different places, fear naturally begins to creep in. Naan understands how hard it is, but he knows that in this new place, nobody will recognize their true identities. You cannot conquer higher floors because the stone sealing your power lies in territory ruled by a mid-rank sovereign, or maybe even higher. What if we strike a deal? So he warns Ellie to be cautious and avoid trouble with shady people. She snaps back that she is not stupid. Naan hands her a small alarm artifact, telling her to break it immediately if she runs into any danger. If she does, Nan's own necklace will shatter too. Ellie sighs in defeat, insisting she is not a magnet for trouble. What could go wrong on such a peaceful mountain? But ironically, a group of bandits suddenly appears and surrounds her. Looking at them closely, Ellie cannot help but point out that they do not look like real bandits at all. One of them sadly confesses that, seeing the decline of the kingdom, they have no other choice to survive. Does she not know about the sacred kingdom? The rulers at the top have completely lost their minds. They burn entire villages looking for hidden demons. Ellie explains she was trapped in the mountains for 5 years and knows nothing. The man sighs with pity. Believing she lost her memory from trauma, he offers her to join them so they can keep her safe. I will help you break the chains of your seal. Citri stared in disbelief. How do you plan to achieve that? He warns her that if the holy knights heard her talk like that, they would arrest her as a witch. It turns out the great temple claimed the demon realm disappearances 5 years ago were caused by witches hiding among humans. Because of this, the holy knights started raiding every village searching for these supposed witches. They burn homes in the name of purification and kidnap children, turning adventurers into mere pawns of their tyranny. Ellie senses danger. Think about it. These holy knights are launching brutal attacks without a single shred of proof. She is shocked that adventurers let themselves be manipulated, but the man only responds with a bitter smile. He explains that in this sacred kingdom there is no choice, as everyone must blindly obey the Pope's orders. Meanwhile, at the temple, the Pope steps out of the bath, and a mysterious woman mockingly questions his lateness. When asked about the investigation, the Pope confirms that just as she predicted, the demon claws are spreading across the nation. He thanks her for everything, but she responds with absolute coldness. Na'an looked at her with pure confidence. You have already witnessed a tiny fraction of my real power. She flatters his hard work for the country, leaving the Pope deeply pleased and grateful that she is the only one who truly appreciates him. And that woman, trust me, it was Lily. And that is where we leave it today, with a win-win deal that you and I will definitely keep watching. Get ready, because you and I are about to see how this alliance changes everything. Nan's power was just absurd. If that truly was only a fraction of his strength, even just 10%, it was definitely worth the risk. The moment Nan signed the contract, both of their blood seeped instantly into the parchment. This bound them strictly to every single clause with absolutely no turning back. Then Nan turned to Ciri. After all, who could ever hate such a sweet little ruler? Soon, Nan followed the storyline and met Ciri. Ciri, from today on, Queen Citri will support us. She immediately thanked her with complete sincerity. Thank you, Lady Citri. It is nothing, she replied. Let us get along, kid. But Naan's eyes turned ice cold. We are allies now, yet you dare call her a kid. It seems Her Majesty Citri needs basic etiquette lessons. Citri had no choice but to back down. Fine, there is no need to teach me. I will do it. Let us get along, Lady Sierra. Na'an smirked. See, you can do it when you try. Should have done that first. Now, pay close attention here, because this pact is about to get incredibly intense. From this moment on, Queen Citri will also be my student. Those words irritated her immediately. What nonsense are you talking? She complained. Nayen calmly replied that he knew she was once a great demon queen. But now you are just an ordinary demon queen with pretty mediocre power and influence, with barely any status, and so little presence that people are forgetting you. Citri's lip trembled. Ciri used to be the sole heir of the second most powerful ruler in the entire underworld. Was it really necessary to go that far? You are the one asking for help, so drop the attitude. Nayan kept going. You probably think you have hit your limit and can only recover your sealed power. But let me make one thing clear. Even now, you can still become much stronger in this game. So, Citri kept searching for her lost strength, growing more powerful along that brutal path, and she became Seir's ultimate ally. I know what you are thinking, but Sitri warned him not to joke around. I would never joke about this. Regardless, we must fulfill our contract. You may leave for today. Come back when you have time, Sidri. You want me to come? I am a demon queen. You should come to me. Right then, Seir tightly hugged Nan. No, he is my master. Na'an simply shrugged and held up his hands. You heard her. My hands are tied. Sitri let out a defeated sigh, agreeing to visit once a week. Suddenly, Sitrai realized something and demanded to know what he meant by that. But 2 years ago, a devastating war claimed the lives of her father and his most loyal warriors. Are you implying that I will be the one eager to see you? Nan answered nonchalantly. You will understand very soon. The alliance was a success, but problems still remained. Days later, Nan broke the news to Sitri that he could not teach her for now. He was far too busy organizing the troops. If Her Majesty Sitri could help out, he would be very grateful. Then Nan turned to Seir. Empress Seir, I have one last crazy request for you. Could you deliver the final blow? Greetings, Commander Al. The man looked at Nan. Lord Mentor, why are you accompanied by Her Majesty? She looks absolutely adorable today. Nayan replied they came to inspect where Seir would learn swordsmanship while settling some pending issues. Vice Commander Varuna asked if establishing command and control was just an afterthought. Na'an coldly replied that maintaining order like this should be obvious, right? So, at just 5 years old, Seir inherited the throne. Their power collapsed, dragging her family clan all the way down to 72nd place in the demon rankings. Vice Commander Varuna froze, asking respectfully if Nan had actually led troops before. Uniting soldiers from different factions is no easy task. Na'an calmly asked, Oh, really? Then watch me do it. Moments later, he led them straight to the training grounds. Vice Commander Varuna was highly skilled and loyal, but his devotion belonged solely to Seir. So, Nayan planned to use this chance to ensure Varuna obeyed him completely. He took the initiative and offered a hand. A pleasure to meet you, Lord Ensalon. I am Ciri's mentor. He coldly replied that he had heard of him. You are the one who snatched Her Majesty Sitri from us, right? Nan did not deny it. I did, and it was the best choice. After all, when you had nowhere else to go, I took you in. Hearing that, Ensalon furiously barked if being a mentor gave him the right to say whatever he wanted. Seeing that attitude, Nan gripped his hand with crushing force. Instantly, Ensalon pulled away in pain. If things kept going like this, even her official coronation as the Demon Queen would be in jeopardy. Nan coldly warned him to watch his tone. Trust me, the real master they will serve is standing right here. Let's dive into this drama where Masalon roars in absolute fury, asking how they dare challenge their new lady's master. Are you insulting Her Majesty Sitri? Nan looks at him calmly. If you still consider her your master, then watch closely. Your master is no longer Sitri. Now it is Lady Seir, and she is standing right in front of you. Masalon glances at Seir, thinking she is absolutely adorable. But wait, that is not even the point right now. Gritting his teeth, he declares that his only master is Sitri. Hearing this, Nan simply gives a slow, calm nod. Well, at least you have guts. But since you insist on holding on to that foolish belief, you leave me no choice. In an instant, Nan raises his hand and unleashes massive gravity magic, crushing every single one of them to the ground. Even Vice Commander Varuna feels the absolute, overwhelming weight of that pressure crashing down. Naan says coldly that he does not need disobedient dogs. This is their final chance to choose the future or fade away. As Naan prepared to show his respect, Siri rushed forward and bowed with the most adorable, serious look. Will they trust tomorrow? Ceylon grits his teeth, shouting that he swore an oath to Citri and will only obey her. Hearing that highly satisfying answer, Nan simply snaps his fingers. Watch closely here, because that loyalty might actually be useful. Naan releases the pressure, and Citri starts screaming at them in rage. You absolute fools! Why do you keep defying me and causing trouble? You already know Seir and I are allies now. But Lady Citri I protests that alliance is just paper. Citri coldly cuts him off, telling him to shut up. This is a real pact, and I will make it last. This alliance is absolutely critical for the massive war ahead. They bow their heads instantly. Understood, Your Majesty. We were incredibly disrespectful to you. I told you I am not your queen anymore. Tell me again, whose soldiers are you? They answer in unison. We are Lady Seir's army. Seeing them fall in line so fast shocks everyone. Naan looks at Citri with a calm expression. See, I told you if you had just stepped in earlier, all of this would have been way easier. Turn a weak little demon queen into the ultimate ruler. But then a terrible update dropped that made everyone furious. Please speak freely, tutor. Treat me as your student, not your queen. Seeing her tiny face like that, seeing Nun's signal seer also gives Citre a cute thumbs up. With this massive issue solved, it is time to start training. Before they begin, Nan asks Seer to please wait off to the side for a moment. But Seer's tiny hand grips his shirt tightly. No matter how hard Nan tries to persuade her, she just will not let go. I know what you are thinking. She is absolutely adorable. She refuses to let go, making Nan sigh at her cute stubbornness. There is absolutely no winning with her. So he gently picks her up and sets her right on his shoulders, watching this unfold. Citri gets annoyed and demands to know, you said you were going to train me, did you not? When exactly are we starting? Nan replies with complete serenity, do not rush, we can still practice like this. As he finishes speaking, Nan begins releasing his mana. A dense, heavy power completely blankets the sky above them. Nan says casually, today's lesson is simple. If you manage to land a single blow, you pass the test. Hearing such an absurd condition, Citri thinks he is joking. Could a training session like this actually be useful? Neon could not help himself and gently patted her head. From today on, just call me Master. Naan simply replies, do not worry. The intensity of this practice will completely exceed all of your expectations. The very next second, a colossal force crashes down instantly, forcing Citri to fall straight to her knees. Naan looks down at her, saying, of one thing I am absolutely certain, I am far stronger than you ever were. So try to break free from my overwhelming mana pressure, and then figure out a way to strike me. That terrifying pressure slams Citri flat against the ground, leaving her speechless. To Nan, a stronger Citri is the sharpest weapon Seir could ever have. Seir's own strength is important, of course, but with Citri supporting her, she can expand her power and influence far more easily. Meanwhile, Nan just keeps taunting her. Your Majesty, if this tiny bit of mana makes you tremble, how do you expect to achieve anything? If you feel humiliated, just give up. The realm where Citri's true power was currently sealed belonged to at least a middle rank. If she wanted to survive there, she first had to learn to endure this overwhelming high-tier mana pressure. I am going to make you the greatest demon queen in history. During this grueling process, her body's magic circuits would naturally strengthen, which is a major advantage. Sitting on Nan's shoulders, Seer whispers, Master Citri looks like she is hurting. Of course she is, he replies. That is the whole point of training. Watch closely, because one day you will go through this too. Time flies by, and soon evening arrives. After hours under Nan's crushing pressure, Citri is completely drenched in sweat. Yet she refuses to give up, dragging her body forward inch by inch to reach him. And that is where we leave it today. Nan knows she truly deserves her place in the top 12. Let's dive in and see how she adapts so fast that this brutal training will be over in no time. Later, at dinner, Seir begged Nan to teach her more even though they had already trained hard that morning. Pushing herself would only lead to pure exhaustion, but no master could possibly ignore eyes so full of determination. So, Naan simply snapped his fingers and instantly the heavy restriction binding Citri vanished without a trace. But back in his room, reality hit him like a truck. What did he just do? Did he really agree to be Ciri's tutor? He calmly told her to take a break, and hearing that Citri collapsed to the floor gasping for air, Neon looked over at Seer and asked her to share what she learned today. She replied that she learned to use atmospheric mana to cast powerful spells she could never pull off alone. Naan questioned her again on how she planned to capture the mana floating freely in the air. Seer tapped her chin thoughtfully, cutely replying she would just ask for help. Nan smiled and asked how she would do it. Since you have never spoken to mana, you should know our own energy can connect with it very easily. First, release a tiny spark of your power to make friends with the mana floating all around us. Then draw that energy back and use your new friends to unleash a devastating spell. Naan stared at Seir. Asking if she wanted to try, Seir followed his lead and reached her tiny hand out into the air. Soon, a soft glow appeared on her fingertip. Nan nodded, telling her to keep drawing the power very slowly. He absolutely loved the game, knew every single ending, and had unlocked every deep secret. Meanwhile, Citri watched the whole thing in absolute shock while still trying to catch her breath. Pay close attention here because seeing this mind-blowing power made Citri resolve to protect their alliance at all costs. The surrounding mana was instantly drawn to Seer, and Nan instructed her to start pulling it in. Seer whispered that it felt really strange, so Nan explained that she was feeling gathered atmospheric mana. You do not have enough power to cast this alone yet. But we can try activating it right now if we combine a bit of your energy with the mana we just gathered. First, visualize a burning fire in your mind and let it flow out naturally. Now, try it just like I showed you. But wait, check this out. Citri suddenly barges in furiously, asking what he is teaching her. She claims it is an ancient lost spell. Naan is secretly stunned, never expecting she would recognize something so legendary. But to avoid raising suspicion, Nan simply played it cool, acting like he knew exactly what it was. But I know what you're thinking. Clicking buttons is way different than protecting a real person. Citri impatiently demanded to know how he recognized it, but he changed the subject to finish the lesson first. Naan focused back on Seer and told her to try. Following his words, the little girl closed her eyes in deep concentration. Instantly, a tiny, bright flame sparked on her finger, earning her a warm, genuine compliment from Nan. You did amazing, Seer. Keep practicing your energy manipulation because a day will come when you will desperately need it. Meanwhile, right behind them, Citri clenched her fists, trying to hold back a wave of deep frustration. Nahan noticed her vibe and warned her she could only attack him during training, putting Citri immediately on the defensive. She insisted she did not want to fight, but shyly asked him to teach her that incredible ancient magic too. Na'an shut her down. Citri argued she was his student, but he stayed perfectly calm. He pointed out he still did not trust her, though he realized he could use this to get some extra perks. He added that if they grew closer, he might actually consider teaching her that legendary power. Worse, he had no idea how to use magic. How could he train a demon queen? His plan was to politely refuse. Hearing the words grow closer made Citri blush, instantly hesitating for a second before gritting her teeth. Anything to get stronger. She looked away, embarrassed, and asked what kind of girls he actually liked. Na'an was speechless for a moment, realizing this conversation had just taken a very weird turn. He quickly clarified that he meant strictly building trust between Faction 72 and Faction 71. Citri froze completely upon realizing her massive mistake, whining that he should have been way clearer from the start. She begged to forget she said anything, while Seer stared completely lost by the bizarre talk she just witnessed. Night fell quickly, and Nan was finally able to head back to his private chambers to rest up. Since the body Nan possessed belonged to a grand demon, it made sense he could wield massive ancient spells. In the game, this grand demon god's true identity was almost never revealed to the players. He was described only as an ancient being of unimaginable power, wrapped in a total mystery from head to toe. Maybe he got swept up seeing Seer in person, or maybe he just knew the tragic future that awaited her. And that's where we're left wondering why on earth this powerful body still fears the other grand demons. Come with me as our protagonist decides not to waste time on mysteries, since he has way too many problems. He would solve them one by one. And right now, his most urgent matter was expanding his own territory. Attacking the human world was too premature. Plus, the 71st floor was Citri's territory, which was completely off-limits. But the 70th floor was ruled by Demon King Andro. If Nahan allied with Citri tomorrow would bring an opportunity. Nahan called the commander to meet, but Seer playfully and stubbornly insisted on tagging along too. "Commander Al, I know you are busy, thank you for responding." Ultimately, Al replied that he needed his opinion too. Nahan nodded. "That is right. I want to talk about territory expansion." Al understood the plan immediately. "Do you mean fully capturing the 70th floor?" "Yes. It will be incredibly tough, even allied with Citri. The power gap is huge. If you plan on starting an all-out war, I strongly advise you to act with extreme caution." While Nan tried desperately to brainstorm a plan, a sudden flash of gold light beamed directly into his eyes. Just then, Nahan hands him a report. Pay close attention here because bypassing direct combat reveals a massive opportunity. Exactly. So, as our commander, what is your opinion on this? Personally, I would say this is quite a solid card to play. After reading the report, Al quickly concluded they should run a covert operation using expert infiltration troops. First, they had to gather all scattered soldiers into a new independent legion, preventing disputes and complaints between units. Not only that, but it would make the newly recruited soldiers completely loyal to Queen Seer. Once those soldiers realized that Seer created a brand new legion just for them, they would naturally feel a strong affection and belonging toward her. When Nahan asked Seer, she firmly accepted the plan. Shortly after Sitri heard the news and decided to show up to collaborate with the operation. At that moment, she was still training under Nahan's mana pressure. Suddenly, Seer ran over from her seat. A second later, memories from the original owner of this body flooded his brain all at once. She lay down right next to Sitri, saying she wanted to train together so it would not feel so tiring. Seeing Seer act like that, Nahan could only think that she was truly an adorable little girl. That unexpected scene completely caught Sitri off guard. But seeing Seer's cute face, she could not refuse to train. In that moment, Nahan reminded Seer that her teddy bear got dirty, but reassured her that everything was fine. They could easily wash it. Nahan softly asked her if she wanted to go take a bath with her teddy bear. After they took Seer away, Sitri looked at Nahan and remarked that he seemed very used to kids. Nahan denies this, and I know what you are thinking, but he just wants Seer to accept her identity easily. So he acts accordingly. Then he looked at Sitri, saying she also tended to act without thinking too much. Let us pause the training for now and continue our previous discussion. Sitri said she would gladly help on the 70th floor, though. If she claimed it was for little Seer, he would never believe her. This update let you play as a trashy blonde rebel and totally ruin the heroine's pure and beautiful path. As it all came back, Nan realized this body belonged to a top-tier demon. That changed everything. The truth is, I was already preparing for war beforehand. Nahan was left deep in thought. In the original timeline, this event would happen much later. Had his interference completely altered the course of destiny? Still, he had no reason to refuse, so he asked how she planned to help him. Sitri frowned. "You are truly shameless. Just tell me what to do." Nahan explained his plan, and Sitri froze in absolute shock. "You want me to go and pretend to start a fight?" Nahan calmly replied she caught on fast as expected. Sitri narrowed her eyes, asking why she would risk her life as bait. In response, Nahan handed her some documents. Reading them, Sitri instantly understood his scheme. It turned out that Andro had openly insulted Aaron, and now a massive rift has formed between them. Aaron represents one of the largest forces on the 70th floor. I knew Andro was an idiot, but this is incredibly brazen. With Aaron's terrible temper, he will never accept an apology. This is practically a gift from the heavens. Nahan nodded. Exactly, I plan to draw Aaron to our side. We will send someone from our camp as a negotiator. With power like this, there was no reason to fear. Now he could actually protect Seer and aim for that perfect ending he always wanted. Sitri narrowed her eyes. "I think I know who you will send, but how are we splitting the profits?" Nahan replied with absolute calmness. "Territory and funds, we split it 50-50. What do you think?" Sitri looked surprised. She did not expect that, thinking he would try to take a bigger cut. Nahan casually answered that they were allies after all. Keeping his alliance with Sitri was totally worth that price. Sitri remained doubtful. "Honestly, you are starting to look pretty suspicious to me. Nahan says the choice is hers. And trust me, their training is about to get intense as he reactivates the spell. Come along with me as our queen's training starts getting super intense. That man was way too cruel." Soon after, Cain took Seer to clean up, and she immediately ran over to find Nan. Nahan picked her right up. It seemed like gentle Seer and her teddy bear were sparkling clean, but he instantly noticed something very strange. "Seer, did you dye your hair red when I was not looking?" The very next day, Nan took Seer outside to begin their very first lesson. Cain explained that the Devat clan is highly unique. They store external mana in their hair, which makes them incredibly talented with magic. When Nan taught her to use external mana, she seemed to naturally absorb and store it inside her hair. Nan asked if using that mana would make her hair return to normal, and Cain nodded in agreement. In fact, the previous Demon King gathered so much power that over half of his hair turned red. If Seir could store that mana, she could cast devastating spells that would consume an absolutely massive amount of energy. Nan looked at little Seer and told her she would need to practice absorbing external energy much more. Afterward, Nan looked at Cain and suddenly asked him where the commander was located. Meanwhile, on floor 70, ruled by Andra Al moved with incredible speed, slipping past the sleeping elite soldiers. Those guards were much better trained than she expected, but fortunately, they did not cause any trouble. In no time, the secret squad crossed the danger zone and regrouped deep inside a dense forest. Learning outside was super relaxing and helped her focus. Just then, Nan spotted the little teddy bear she was clutching. One of the subordinates spotted a distant cabin and whispered that it did not look suspicious at all. The subordinate asked why they were there, and Al replied that they needed to recruit Aaron's forces for floor 70. The soldier doubted if that was even possible, but Al coldly replied that they only obey orders. Their only duty was to complete the mission, so the group stealthily moved straight toward the cabin. But suddenly, a guard appeared at the entrance, ruining their plan and coldly demanding they identify themselves. Al assumed he was one of Aaron's men, admitting to herself that his training far exceeded her expectations. Now, watch closely here just as Al introduces herself in Seir's name. The great Aaron finally makes his appearance. He stared at them, asking who the representative was. Hearing that she took off her mask and said it was her, the Apos inside was in absolute shock, recognizing her as one of the legendary Four Swords of Sail. Weren't they all supposed to be dead? But Al calmly answered that she had abandoned that title long ago. That item was nowhere to be found in the original game. When asked, Seir confessed it was her only friend. Aaron looked at her and asked if they really planned on invading floor 70. Do they really think it is possible? Al did not hesitate for a second. She said nothing was impossible because alongside Citri they could defeat Andra. Aaron mocked such extreme overconfidence. Coming from you, I accept it. But real war is a different story. Even combining the forces of floors 71 and 72 won't match floor 70. Isn't that exactly why you came here? You need an expert guide like me. Al replied in a low voice that they couldn't reveal all their cards, but she could assure him of one crucial detail. I know you and I might doubt this, but Al swears nobody could defeat Nan. Aaron frowned deeply, questioning her words. At your peak, you had the strength of a demon king. She asked him in return if she looked like someone who would joke in this situation. Aaron seriously stated that if someone that strong was on their side, then they did not need his help at all. They could simply slaughter the entire floor 70. Al replied that they shouldn't alert the higher floors over such a minor matter. Nayan immediately realized this cute toy was hiding a massive secret he would definitely have to investigate later. If he didn't believe her, he was free to report this secret meeting to Lord Andra immediately. But if he did, he shouldn't expect to escape unharmed. Aaron looked at her, asking if it was a threat or a test. He would doubt anyone else, but he had personally witnessed the devastating power of the Four Swords in the past. Al asked him to allow her troops to pass through his territory to subdue Andra. Aaron understood the play instantly. So, Citri would come in person to unleash absolute chaos, right? Al nodded, confirming his suspicions. She promised he would receive titles and rewards worthy of his aid. Would he accept later, Al reported the successful deal to Nan. Nayan congratulated her for completing the mission so smoothly, but warned her that they had to prepare for the upcoming battle. Right then, Nan noticed she seemed to hesitate as if she wanted to say more, so he invited her to speak freely. After a brief silence, Al finally gathered her courage and apologized for asking him such a direct question. Why did you decide to become Queen Seer's mentor? Someone of your immense caliber shouldn't occupy such a humble position. Since it is our first day, we will start with mana control. But what about royal history? What a mystery, guys. Why would someone so powerful serve a fallen queen? You and I will find out next time. Let us dive in and see why anyone would choose floor 72 the absolute lowest. I do not get it, Nan said. So you are worried I want to steal the throne? Al did not deny it. Yes, she replied honestly. I cannot say that chance is zero. Naan knew if he told her the truth she would think he lost his mind. But if he made up some cheap excuse, Al did not seem like someone who would let it slide easily. He had no choice but to explain why he fell for this game. Honestly, it actually sounded pretty interesting. A demon queen raised with my very own hands. Someone who used to be the weakest, most despised being of all. Just imagining the day she rules the entire demon realm. Nothing is more exciting than that. Al frowned slightly at this. So you are saying this is just to satisfy your own personal desires, Nan answered honestly. At first, yes, but now I love this place. First off, my absolute favorite is the adorable demon Queen Seer. Then there is Kane, our unshakable and reliable tactician, Siri asked. Kane recommended finishing basic academics before practicing with the flow of energy. Leah has such a warm heart that I can trust her with the castle affairs without any hesitation. Cecily is sharp with work and people, and Mogul is one of the best chefs in the whole demon world. Vice Commander Veruna can be a bit rebellious at times, but when it comes to raw skill and loyalty, he is flawless. Plus, we also have a powerful, loyal, clever, and incredibly beautiful commander here. Now, pay attention here. Our main character truly loves this 72nd floor and its people. It fits him perfectly. So, do not worry. As long as you do not abandon me, I will never betray you, he quietly promised Al. Thank you for answering such a disloyal question so honestly. Naan corrected her, saying her true loyalty belonged to Seer. You are more loyal to Seer than anyone. You asked me that just for her sake, did you not? As Al walked away, a warm feeling washed over her. She realized her queen was incredibly lucky to have such good people. The next morning, Sayers went to play with Nan. However, he was way too busy auditing the treasury records. Nayan patiently explained that the butler was being way too strict. To protect her people, she first needed to understand real power. Since she was already there, he figured it was a great time to give her a little lesson in economics. Nayan picked up a document asking about a report that said human adventurers had ruined their crops. It is a request for food aid since the people have nothing to eat. Seer insisted they must give them food. We have grain and meat left from last year in storage. But should we just hand them out for free? Nan asked. Seer shook her head. No, we can provide some relief, but the rest should be sold at a very low price. Nayan kept pressing, asking what they would do if the farmers did not even have the money to buy food right now. I know what you are thinking, but Seir completely shocks us by proposing a brilliant system called a grain loan. Farmers can borrow grain at incredibly low interest and repay it after the next harvest. It fixes the shortage without resorting to pure charity. The castle will not lose anything either. Right then, Leah stepped into the room and greeted them both cheerfully. Sorry to interrupt, but it is time for Her Majesty Seer's snack. So Nan told her to go eat first. Because of that, her studies would begin with mana control martial arts and imperial sovereignty. Seeing her face light up instantly like that, he could not help but think she was incredibly adorable. But just as Seer was about to leave, she suddenly stopped and turned back to look at Nan. Then she flashed a bright, super sweet smile, inviting him to eat together. Leah was shocked because Seer never shared her food with anyone. Of course, Nan had to tag along and try the delicious dessert she was so crazy about. It looks like Nan had completely won her trust if she was willing to share her most precious sweets. Right at that moment, Kane the butler approached with a very serious look, holding a letter in his hand. He informed Nan that the letter came from the 71st floor. Opening it, he saw everything was ready. Things are definitely starting to heat up. Meanwhile, Andro, the demon king of the 70th floor, heard about the declaration of war. Your Majesty, you must proceed with caution. Caution. Andro scoffed. She is nothing but a clown, using borrowed strength. Even so, she was a high-ranking demon queen, the subordinate replied. The second, our main character found out he rushed online to blast the developers with absolute hate. Siri loved the idea, though she very seriously confessed she had already mastered the theory of imperial leadership. She may have lost her power, but she is still clever. Andro coldly asked if she was planning a hidden move. Who could she possibly rely on to make me fear her? The subordinate answered that there were several possibilities. Rumors suggest that the 71st and 72nd floors have actually formed a secret alliance. Also, 71st floor spies report Citri has been frequently visiting the 72nd, proving they are working together. Andro laughed to himself. How incredibly naive to declare war on me just because she relies on that weak 72nd floor. And that is where we leave it, because that commander is one of the legendary Four Swords of Sail. Trust me, we can't ignore this because word on the street is our new royal tutor is no ordinary demon. Andrew snapped back, demanding why such an incredible powerhouse would ever stoop to tutoring on the lowly 72nd floor. His subordinate pressed on, explaining that reports confirmed this tutor was the one who united the alliance and secured Citri. Because of that, they needed to launch a massive frontal assault right out of the gate with overwhelming military force. That sparked his curiosity. If she already knew it, why was she still so timid with other demons? So Nan snapped his fingers. Commander Citri won't even have time to react. And besides, I have a private strategy I'd like to share, sir. Andro grinned, loving the plan. It was time to show those arrogant pests on floor 71 and 72 real power. He ordered Aaron to be brought to him immediately, but right then a panicked messenger burst through the doors. Your Majesty, we have terrible news. The Demon King's army has already set up camp right outside our castle gates. Hearing this, Andro realized Aaron had likely defected to Citri's side. His subordinate immediately begged the king for orders. Your Majesty, give us the word. Our troops are fully prepared to march out and crush them on your command. Andro coldly gave the order to march, demanding they execute that foolish girl Citri and the traitorous bastard Aaron. The army advanced to wipe out those arrogant fools. Meanwhile, for safety, Nan had Siri put on a highly specialized armor. This should help you block any lethal blows. Do a good job, and I'll reward you with some sweet cake later." Naan stared into the distance. "Watch closely because the operation is officially underway and we need to move fast. In that case, let us put it into practice." Cain bowed deeply, wishing them a victorious return. Shortly after, Nan led Seer right up to a massive magical portal. Sub-Commander Veruna was waiting, announcing that Her Majesty Sitri had opened a temporary teleportation gate for their journey. It would take them straight to Floor 70. Naan realized Sitri was truly risking everything to make this alliance work. With that, Nan guided Seer through the shimmering portal. But the moment Nan crossed over and left the castle, masked figures in black were already lurking in the skies. Staring down at the completely deserted fortress, the masked leader scoffed, wondering if these fools were actually serious. They left the place wide open. It's time to teach these amateurs a lesson. These were the elite forces under Commander Duncan serving King Andrew. Their mission: erase everyone left behind inside the castle. Meanwhile, as Nan set foot on Floor 70, Sub-Commander Veruna remained deeply worried about the castle, mentioning that Andro kept a specialized squad solely for covert assassinations. Theory only works if you actually apply it. Right after, Nan handed Siri a personal training journal. If they launched a surprise attack before the battle even ended, Nayan calmly shrugged off those dirty tricks. Meanwhile, back at the castle, Butler Cain absolutely blasted an intruder away with one kick. That terrifying display of strength completely stunned the elite troops. You and I both know those assassins never expected a mere butler to pack such an insane punch. Cain grabbed an assassin by the throat with one hand, quietly noting he didn't recall inviting guests over today. "So, who exactly are you? Right on cue?" Another assassin went flying straight through a nearby glass window. Cecily, the maid, cheerfully poked her head out the window, proudly reporting to Cain that her area was completely clear. Leah walked out the front doors, casually dragging a pair of unconscious intruders behind her like trash. Even the rat who snuck into the kitchen was handled by Chef Magul. Everyone in the castle was totally safe. The intruders were the ones in deep trouble. Honestly, Nan had anticipated this since the previous Demon King's reign. This notebook would guide her to become a great leader, and if she did her homework, he would reward her with delicious pudding. He personally hand-picked exceptionally skilled hidden warriors to prevent surprise raids. They rarely fought in public, making them ghosts. Naan didn't pay them much mind at first, but their actual deployment, their flawless coordination and tactical strategy were highly impressive. He had to admit they made a stellar defensive force. Seeing their defense, Sub-Commander Veruna asked Nan for orders, but Nan told her she had it all wrong. "The one you should be serving isn't me, but rather the Demon King Seer standing right beside us." Veruna quickly bowed, promising to remember. Seer looked at Nan with serious eyes, ready to take charge. He then requested Master Nan to act as their temporary commander, and Nan gave a warm smile. If that's Seer's wish, he would happily accept. Meanwhile, Commander Ao had already established contact with Aaron. Naan ordered Veruna to join and support them. Siri looked up innocently, asking where their next destination would be. Their next stop was nowhere else but the front lines where Queen Sitri was waiting. And as you and I both know, affection points decide absolutely everything in this world. Meanwhile, Sitri had no idea Aaron's troops were this skilled. Come along with me to see what happens next. Buckle up, because today we are watching Baphomet tremble as he warns about the great Nan's terrifying strategic mind. He warns he is too dangerous and they must act, but before he can finish, Sitri coldly cuts him off. Baphomet. If that were actually possible, I wouldn't be sitting here. Don't you ever dare touch that man. One mistake and floor 71 falls. We will only do our part to claim the reward we earned, Sitri declared. Baphomet bowed his head immediately, muttering that he would obey Her Majesty. As she watched the distant battlefield burn, Sitri thought it was a spectacular start. Meanwhile, news of Aaron's infiltration quickly reached the Demon King Andro. Andro fumed with absolute rage. This war should have never taken such a disastrous turn. That miserable traitor Aaron. Not even his death can calm my fury. If he wants to come, let him come right now. I will slice them to pieces with my own blade. Right then, a violent blast shattered the castle gates. All right, you and I are about to watch how this tutor completely changes the game. After assigning homework, Nan focused on mana, a fixed energy pooled inside the core from birth. Andro sneers as they arrive. And you'll want to watch closely here as the smoke clears to reveal Commander Al and her troops. The castle guards reacted in a flash, launching themselves straight into the battle. Al scoffed, mocking their reception on floor 70. Meanwhile, Andro glared at Aaron with absolute hatred. Aaron, do you think you can show off here just because you have one of Sale's 4 swords backing you up? I will tear you apart myself. In a flash, Al moved and sliced the annoying guard clean in two. A second later, she caught the massive hammer Andro threw. He grinned, daring her to try and conquer floor 70. Show me right now if you actually have the power to pull off a stunt like that. The moment he finished speaking, he slammed his massive mace down again. But Al's insane reflexes saved her from the lethal blow. Andro mocked her speed, laughing at how the prey from S always managed to escape him. But now, how will you handle this? Without warning, Andro spun around and ripped off his own soldier's head. So, what actually decides how much of that mana you can use? Commander Al is left completely stunned. And honestly, this is where things get real crazy for us. From the neck of the headless guard, a colossal, terrifying serpent began to emerge. Its gaping jaws lunged straight for Al, while Nan had already reached the terrace where Sitri watched the conflict unfold. Sitri asked if he would truly deliver. But can you defeat the Demon King Andro? Nan calmly replied that his presence meant he was confident in his victory. Then he handed over Seer, whom he was carrying, asking Sitri to protect her well since taking her along would cause too many dangerous distractions. Na'an knelt down gently, telling the little girl to play with her new friend for a while. I will be back soon, he promised. But right then he sensed a bizarre presence that did not belong there. Realizing that Commander Al was in grave danger, he knew he had to move immediately. In the next instant, Nan vanished, teleporting inside the castle, with a move so fast it left Sitri completely stunned. Demons, half-demons, and dragons all have circuits in their bodies. Did Seer know what they were for? Suddenly, one of her subordinates crept up close to whisper something into her ear. He suggested it was a perfect opportunity, but she quickly silenced him, warning that Nan was testing their alliance loyalty. So don't do anything stupid, and treat little Seir with the exact same respect you show me. Honestly, I actually like this kid. Meanwhile, in the hall, Andro sent the vice commander flying with a single strike. The brutal force of that impact completely demolished the solid wall behind him. And Andro smirked evilly, mocking their pathetic efforts while promising to finish them all off right then and there. On the other hand, Commander Al was hopelessly trapped, unable to break free from the giant serpent. The crushing energy made her realize she wasn't facing a regular demon, but a supreme tier beast. After fighting with everything she had, her strength gave out and she closed her eyes, giving in to despair. But when she opened them again, she saw with absolute shock that the giant snake lay completely dead. Siri instantly nodded yes. Those circuits channel the mana flow. Nan smiled in approval. Exactly. Nyan, having saved her, was already stomping on Demon King Andro's head, glaring down at the ruler of Floor 70. I have come to give you a single chance to surrender. Beneath his boot, Andro couldn't believe this reality. This man's sheer power defied all logic. That absurd amount of mana felt exactly like Das himself, the ultimate, supreme demon king. He couldn't comprehend why someone this strong backed such weaklings, but Nan completely ignored his confusion. He pulls a sharp blade from his mana. Andro panics, asking what he wants, leaving us desperately waiting for what happens next. Let us dive right into this. Nan coldly told him, "The only thing I need from you is your head, the highest prize a demon king can achieve. But with your weak power, you could never reach it anyway. Plus, there is one more reason why I will never forgive you. Anyone foolish enough to grasp a power they can never control does not deserve a shred of my mercy." The very next second, Nan swung his blade and took Andrew's head. Turning to the crowd, he declared, "This war is officially over." Suddenly, a blinding white light erupted from his screen, swallowing him up completely before he could even blink. To be precise, they are the pathways for energy. More circuits mean you can unleash far greater power. Soldiers of Demon King Andro, lay down your weapons now. Your lord has fallen. Surrender, and your lives will be spared. Resist, and you will find no mercy. Meanwhile, his voice echoed all the way to Citri's camp. Citri muttered in disbelief. He was gone for 5 minutes, and it is over, though knowing him, I guess it is no surprise. Right then, Seer stared up at the sky with sparkling eyes, saying, "That is Master's voice." Al bowed her head. "My Lord Nan, I am deeply sorry. It was my oversight." Nan calmly reassured her. "Do not blame yourself, Commander. You have simply been away from an actual battlefield for far too long. That heavy aura from earlier belonged to someone who once ruled the demon realm." But with Nan's shattered memories, he still could not place who it was. And more importantly, this entire event had never even happened in the game before. Nan reminded her, "Make sure to write that Citri defeated Andro in the report." Al replied immediately, "Understood, my lord. I will make sure everyone keeps their mouths shut." Nan turned ordering Vice Commander handle whatever is left here. So real power depends on your internal network. What a smart girl, Nan praised her with a smile. "I need to check on Seer." Then out of nowhere he asked, "By the way, where's the queen right now?" "Oh my, she should be with Lady Citri," Al replied. Nan raised an eyebrow. "What? She is alone with a demon king right now." "Please do not worry," Al explained. "Citri is not foolish enough to do anything reckless." Meanwhile, Citri learned that the 70th floor surrendered. "But look closely here, sir," spotted something moving in the distance. It was her master. In an instant, Sir ran happily toward the main gate. Citri, however, had felt absolutely nothing. A moment later, Nan descended from the sky, landing right in front of her. Looking down at Sir, he asked, "Did you have fun?" Citri was stunned. "What? How are you back so fast?" When Commander Io arrives, Nan answered casually, "You can read the report, but first I have a little gift for Seer. Here, take this." he said, handing over Andro's head. "This is the Demon King's head. Hopefully it brings you the praise you deserve. But Master, sir, froze in place, you were the one who killed him. You learn Manhwa. Base mana is decided at birth, but you can actually expand your circuits with intense effort." Na'an simply replied, "Whatever, sir, and I are leaving first. Remember, the loot is split 50-50. Meanwhile, back at the castle, Kane was fixing the door. Na'an went straight back to his castle, stepping through the teleportation portal. Looking at the scene, he immediately realized the intruders had been successfully driven away. Kane bowed deeply. "Congratulations on conquering the 70th floor. We should now prepare to relocate our demon castle." Na'an shook his head. "There is no rush. Besides, I already plan to hand the 70th floor castle over to Citri anyway." "Confused, sir?" asked. "Master, you defeated Andrew, yet you handed all the credit over to Lady Citri. Are we not losing out?" Kane added gravely. "Taking the demon castle is equivalent to making a formal declaration of conquest. Are you telling me we must hand even that over to Lady Citri?" Nan nodded. "That is right. More than a castle, we need funds, land, and resources. Our economy is simply not stable enough to support the 70th floor independently. Before we grow strong, I need Citri to handle all the endless trouble that comes with governing the 70th floor." Right after saying that, the mana gathered in Na'an's hand blasted straight up into the sky. Let us pause and appreciate how brilliant this move is. Officially, Citri rules the 70th floor, making every single issue her problem. I have already calculated everything. There is absolutely no reason to worry. Besides, I am not one to let myself be used or give things away for free. From now on, we focus on series studies and internal affairs. On top of that, we still need to figure out who was backing Demon King Andrew from the shadows. Kane finally nodded. "I understand, my Lord Nan, but how are you so certain you would secure Aaron's support?" Na'an merely replied that it was pure luck. In reality, though, it was just a minor random event from the game. With the immediate threat out of the way, Nan could finally focus all his energy on training and teaching. At the same time, Seir had to learn what it truly meant to rule, since the rightful queen of this land was not Nan, but Seir herself. Ciri said with pure sincerity, "I really love having my master teach me. The little bear likes it too." Nan smiled warmly. "Thank you for appreciating me. It seems I chose the right path. If you have huge reserves and widen your pathways, you can release an absolute beast of an explosion." Later, when he tried to leave for work, Sirar clung to him with a sad face, and, trust me, she refused to let him go. "Come along with me to see how Sasali insisted that hard work deserves a proper rest." And Ciri, with a sad little face, begged Nan to stay by her side and help her take a nap. If he refused, she would cry, so Nan chose to put her to sleep first before returning to his endless tasks. Just then Leah arrived and greeted Lord Nan, who asked her to bring a hot tea to Seer's room. "And one more thing, you are not hurt, right?" Leah quickly answered that of course she was fine. "I deeply appreciate your concern, my lord. I will deliver the warm drink right away." It seemed Lord Nan had already calculated everything inside the castle, including the remaining power, as Ciri asked him with genuine worry. "Master, did something bad happen to Leah?" "No." Nan answered gently. "I just wanted to make sure." Then he looked at the toy in her arms and asked if she would sleep with the white bear, which Ciri nodded to. That brief display completely stunned Kane, who was watching intensely from the sidelines. But just as Nan tried to leave, Sierra puffed her cheeks out cutely and grabbed his hand tightly. "Master, will you sleep with me?" Nan hesitated. wondering if she relied on him because she lost her father so young, or if she truly found a deep sense of security by staying so close to him. So, Na'an chose to stay right beside Seir, at least until she finally fell fast asleep. Meanwhile, news that Witri defeated the demon king Andro of Floor 70 reached the ears of Dantal, leader of Floor 69. The general of Floor 69 assumed Citri won, thanks to their secret alliance with Floor 72. This meant they were the next target, so they had to prepare all possible defenses right away. Now, pay close attention here, because Dantal solemnly announced he would write to Decarabia of Floor 68, leaving his general completely shocked by such a proposal. "Do we even have a better option?" Dantel asked coldly. "That guy is an annoying fool, but if I do nothing, I will be the next to fall, so stop talking and write the letter." A monstrous power like that easily outclassed any ordinary low-level tutor. Cain was now fully convinced that under his guidance Seir would become unstoppable. He has no reason to refuse, and meanwhile, Leah soon arrived with the hot tea to Seir's bedroom. But upon entering, she discovered Nan had fallen asleep beside the little girl while watching over her, a tender scene that touched her deeply. Shortly after Citri finished sorting the battle loot and presented herself before Nan to report the results. Since Nan had given her the castle on Floor 70, their faction would have the right to choose the best rewards first. Na'an reminded her that she would be extremely busy managing all the newly conquered territory. But regardless of your duties, you must attend training once a week, to which Citri nodded, assuring him not to worry since she knew the plan. Cleaning up after the war was highly urgent, and Nan needed to draft several key guidelines before the night ended. At that moment, a maid informed him that little Siri would not be able to attend her lessons today. Hearing the reason, Nan stood up in alarm, not expecting Seir to have a fever when she looked so healthy yesterday. He wondered if he had pushed her too hard in training, or if the chaotic battlefield had affected her. Now watch closely, because this is where the plot thickens. Rumors of Seir's new mentor instantly flooded the entire underworld. The maid quickly reassured him, explaining that it only seemed to be a common seasonal cold. Children her age often get sick suddenly, so Nan calmed down, remembering that Siri was still very young. "I know what you are thinking, kids get sick." But Nan realized this was no longer a game, it was harsh reality. He had to finish his duties quickly to visit Siri, so soon he arrived at her bed with 2 adorable plushies as gifts. Seir was absolutely thrilled, hugging the plush toys while laughing non-stop. But that was not enough. He had much more prepared, and soon a whole mountain of plush toys completely covered Siri. However, all of that was nothing more than a sweet dream that Seir was having. In reality, Nan had come with a single plushie, but hearing Seir's cute, sleepy murmurs, he knew she was on a wonderful journey. Fortunately, her fever had already gone down, so at this rate she would be fully recovered by tomorrow. Just as Nan was pulling up a chair to watch over her, Siri suddenly woke up from her deep sleep. Though the high-ranking demon kings around the 60th spot did not care about this news at all. Seeing her, Nan gently stroked her head, telling her to keep sleeping and promising he would not leave her side. Siri sleepily asked if she could look at that document, but Nan refused, telling her to rest well for the day. "We will review it together tomorrow. Now your main priority is to recover completely. If you are still sick tomorrow and miss the delicious pudding, you will be very sad, right?" The next day, the butler brought the loot list. Among all the items, there was a highly special one they absolutely had to retrieve from Floor 70. And trust me, on this equipment in this game is vital, since it speeds up character growth to the max. Come along with me to discover this hidden item Nan found in his 40th run. Who would have thought such a crucial item was hidden on the 70th floor so early in the game? Naan looked at Kane and gave him a serious order. Make sure this gear is ours. We can't lose it. For the other items, choose wisely and leave them to the captain. Kane gave a simple nod of understanding. Yet to other dangerous eyes, this seemingly minor update turned out to be incredibly interesting. But, my lord, are you sure about this mark? According to the list, Nan was looking for a shattered broken sword of unknown origin. Shortly after, Nan took Siri to the warehouse. Upon entering, Siri's eyes locked onto the colorful gems, and the glittering gold coins completely stole her attention. This treasure was nothing new to Nan, but the others had never seen such mind-blowing wealth before. The craziest part, this was just the leftover stash after already giving away half of it. Just then the subordinates bowed to Sierre, and she very politely greeted them back. Soon, two subordinates brought out a chest containing the item Nan had ordered them to guard with extreme care. Please confirm if this is the item, my lord. Nayan nodded, praising them for a job well done. The blood tear sword got its name from its embedded crimson gem. Channeling mana made the blade look like it was weeping tears of blood. In the game, equipping this weapon boosted your growth speed by 5 times. When he opened his eyes, the massive castle before him looked so familiar, it sent a shiver down his spine. We are talking about the 71st Demon King sitting right above Siri. Meanwhile, Sair was already determined to complete the tasks Nan assigned her. It had the highest attack power for this phase. And if you mastered a certain special spell, its power became absolutely insane. Watch closely now as Nan turned to Seer and handed over his precious gift. It's broken now, but I know how to fix it. Let's finish sorting the loot, then go restore this incredible sword. The moment Nan promised it would shine again once repaired, Siri was completely hooked. As Nan distributed the loot, Siri couldn't stop staring at the sparkly gems, so he told her to take them all. After all, everything here belonged to her anyway. Hearing that, Seer picked out a brilliant red crown. Her royal bloodline never lied. With their items chosen, Nan led Seer deep into the underground ruins. Naan knew exactly where the fragment was located, so navigating the winding labyrinth was a total breeze. Soon he arrived at a pile of rubble, and just as expected uncovered the other half of the broken sword. But that wasn't all. Now they just needed the single most important piece of the puzzle. So she went off to find the maid she was closest with. Naan unleashed his massive mana, blasting the debris to clear a path. Stepping through, they found a mystic door guarded by a winged stone demon. Seeing this, Nan scooped Siri up in his arms and told her they just needed to get through that door. Detecting the intruders, the stone demon awakened instantly, moving to block their path forward. Since the stone demon race was almost extinct, Nan had no intention of killing the creature. In the blink of an eye, Nan released a demonic pressure so terrifying that the beast froze in pure horror. Realizing the overwhelming gap in their power, the stone demon knelt, swearing absolute loyalty to his new master. An ancient stone demon of this size would be highly useful. Nan ordered it to wait, promising he'd return soon to collect it. Stepping through the massive gateway, Nan finally spotted the glowing crimson crystal sitting right in the center. That mystic crystal was the hidden key needed to fully restore the legendary sword. Now watch this as Nan placed the two broken halves right in front of the crystal. Suddenly, the weapon reacted, unleashing a blinding flash of light. Putting on her best boss face, Seer firmly ordered her to start cleaning. This sudden dramatic change completely baffled the poor maid. As the light faded, A majestic, heavy weapon embedded with a crimson gem floated right before their eyes. Naan looked at Siri with a soft smile, asking her if she liked her incredible new gift. Watching Siri hold the sword so gently, a warm sense of pure satisfaction filled Naan's chest. Armed with her new blade, Seer was eager to train. But when Naan returned with the stone demon butler, Cain nearly jumped out of his skin. Given the giant demon's colossal size, using it to guard the castle directly was out of the question. Instead, Naan decided to deploy it against human intruders. Having it guard the teleportation zone was the ultimate play. Neon glared at the stone demon and asked if it had paid close attention to their conversation. If you prove useless, you'll be disposed of. Afterward, Nan took Cain to his office for the next reports. Cain reported that Dantel had already started establishing contact with Decarabia. If floors 69 and 68 form a powerful alliance, they'll be tough to face. Nan nodded, well aware of the danger. Though the funny detail was she was already cleaning, just doing it silently with magic. We can't pick a fight right now, but we won't stay idle either. Stick around with me to see what epic move he makes next. I will shake the very foundations of Dantel, Cain warned. But Dantel's faction is incredibly powerful, and he is no idiot like Andro. Come along with me because here we see Dantel's faction thrives on merchants believing business drives every single corner of this world. Neon calmly replied that merchants only value trust. If we shatter that trust, their entire faction will collapse under its own weight. Cain frowned. You are right, but building that level of trust took an incredibly long time. How do we tear it down overnight? Nin quietly responded that he never claimed it would be a quick process. Supporting Siri to consolidate her power will take at least 5 years, slowly dismantling Dantel's economic policies piece by piece. We will become their fierce direct competitors, but only do business within layer number 70. That way, it won't directly affect us here. Cain instantly realized they planned to exploit Her Majesty Citri's influence. We are not exploiting her, it is a partnership, non-corrected. Cain doubted once more whether Citri would accept such a risk. Right then, the maid noticed the training journal that Siri was clutching tightly. Naan told him not to worry. The offer would be highly tempting for her. We will sell merchandise that any merchant would gladly kill for rare items that do not exist anywhere in the demon realm. Soon, now pay attention here, an unbelievable rumor began spreading across the human kingdoms. They claimed almost no guards were left protecting the demon realm, making it ridiculously easy to raid the entire area. Someone excitedly suggested hunting monsters to make a fortune since ram horns were the hot new, high-priced fashion trend. I know exactly where a ram man tribe lives full of defenseless young, so grabbing those horns will be a total piece of cake. Another adventurer instantly agreed, calling it the perfect opportunity to go pillaging and score some incredibly easy money. Shortly after, a crowd bound together solely by the greed for gold arrived at the teleportation gate. Leading this expedition were 2 fearsome A-rank adventurers. Everyone believed that with such powerful leaders, crushing the weak demons of that layer would be child's play. She quickly realized the tutor had instructed her to act like a true leader. So she decided to play along and bowed to show her obedience. Yet the chilling rumor that no one ever returned alive still lingered. Regardless, the ambitious squad managed to cross over successfully. To their absolute amazement, every single guard along the path seemed to have completely vanished into thin air. The invaders assumed the demons had abandoned this floor following the popular theory that the underworld consists of many levels like a giant tower. Right at that moment, they spotted their targets, the group of ram men sitting in the distance. I know what you're thinking, an easy hunt. They all hid, ready to ambush. The A- rank leader warned that all the horns belonged to him, leaving them with only the scraps. A rookie complained immediately, since the horns were the actual prize of this entire raid. The other leader unleashed a terrifying spiritual pressure coldly, threatening the boy to obey if he wanted to keep breathing. Sensing the overwhelming gap in strength, the poor guy had no choice but to accept such an unfair deal. "Fine, Mr. Rick, but you fight first." Rick sneered, saying he never expected any help from useless trash anyway, promising to clean with even greater care. Seeing her very first mission succeed so easily, Seer was absolutely thrilled. Suddenly, the ground began shaking with brutal violence, making it almost impossible to stay standing. Believing it was an earthquake, someone screamed in panic that the ram men would escape if they didn't act quickly. But the very next second, colossal stinger demons came diving straight down from the skies. The horrific sight made even the veteran leaders tremble in fear, as Commander Al ordered to capture them all alive. The adventurers were completely baffled, unable to comprehend why the demons wanted to lock them up instead of devouring them. A whole month passed, and Al informed Nan they had already locked up 276 humans. Nayan feared the portal to Earth would be their weakness, but Al turned it into the ultimate hunting ground for a perfect outcome. Nan would do absolutely anything to win. In this game, humans were worth less than pests, and mercy never brought any actual reward. However, Al warned him that using guard withdrawals as bait was rapidly losing its effectiveness. You have to agree, she is the cutest thing ever. She waved goodbye for class while the maid smiled warmly. It seems the humans caught on to the trap. Naai agreed, but they needed more resources, meaning a change of tactics was due. "Commander Al, do you know anyone expert in mind control?" Al replied that monsters capable of manipulating others' wills were abundant. Nayan smirked, declaring they would make their own food walk straight to them of its own free will. Not long after an injured human swearing, he escaped the abyss, stumbled into the Adventurers Guild. He screamed desperately for help after miraculously fleeing from the clutches of the demons. The missing are captured, and my allies are still there. So, do you think they'll save them, or fall straight into the trap? Come with me, as we see how Adelbert, the S-rank guild master, steps forward demanding to know why they are being captured alive. The guy immediately defends himself, screaming that he has no clue, and asks how he could possibly know while barely escaping with his life. Adelbert coldly replies that if he said he trusted him, he would be outright lying. It makes zero sense for a C-rank adventurer to return alone from the demon realm, and even worse, his heartbeat suddenly spiked. Her Majesty is just too adorable. Soon, Siri skipped back to Nan, humming a cheerful little tune. He sounds actly like every liar he's ever met, but strangely, after saying that his pulse instantly dropped like a flipped switch. Besides, I smell a filthy energy radiating from you. A demon is controlling you, isn't it? In a blink, the guy draws his sword and tries to surprise attack Adelbert. What did you expect from an S rank? He is incredibly sharp. But next second, Adelbert swings and cuts him clean in half. It happened so fast that nobody could even react. Then Adelbert coldly orders them to alert every single guild. No one is allowed to enter the demon realm. Right then, a messenger rushes desperately into the guild hall. "There is terrible news," the messenger shouts. "The Northern Alliance has already gathered an army to invade the demon territory. You're going to want to watch closely here, because Adelbert's face says it all. He expected nothing else from those absolute fools." Meanwhile, Far away in Babylonia, the massive capital city of the Holy Nation, a demon subjugation army was already marching under the direct command of the Lord of Hosts himself. And feeling super proud, she bragged to her tutor that her entire assignment was finished. Days ago, Commander Aiel informed Nan that they had finally freed all the mind-controlled human prisoners. Nayan ordered a team to head to Sakte City since a highly troublesome human resided there. In the video game, several humans were listed as extremely annoying enemies. One of them was the leader of the Salta Guild, who was also one of the deadliest assassins in the entire empire. Thanks to their recent strategy, they successfully lured a massive number of adventurers into the demon realm to trap them. On the sub-commander's orders, the soldiers used mana nets to capture their enemies with the giant stone demon backing them up. Faced with the absolute power of this massive stone monster, no human could withstand its devastating heavy attacks. But get this, their only lethal mission was to execute any of the fools who dared to escape. Shortly after Commander Ao ordered them to launch the nets into the enemy gaps, trapping them all at once. A massive mana net collapsed right over the cornered adventurers. Before he could process anything, a butler approached and bowed deeply, welcoming him as the Honorable Lord Nan. Nayan decided to reward her with a plush toy that looked like her white bear. Siri's eyes lit up with pure, sweet joy. These nets completely paralyzed anyone they touched, and since they were made of giant spider silk, escaping was impossible. Meanwhile, an A-rank holy knight was locked in a brutal, fierce battle against the giant stone demon. He immediately ordered his troops to follow him and break through, but with so many enemy soldiers around. The sub-commander started to worry that the stone giant might lose track of some targets in the chaos. Because of that, he asked Al for permission to personally handle that specific sector. Once he got the go-ahead, the sub-commander transformed into a powerful Azra, crashing from the sky to kill their leader instantly. Witnessing that absolute slaughter, everyone immediately abandoned any hopes of breaking through their lines by force. They threw their weapons to the ground and tried to run, but by then it was already too late. The sub-commander ordered his units to play with them first before capture. Soon, Nan received the report of their total success. Nan expressed his deepest thanks to everyone for their incredible effort. But then her gaze shifted to the butler. Kane had a deep frown, looking incredibly stressed about something. After that, Nan headed back to his office where Seer and Butler Kane had been waiting for quite some time. Nan ordered Kane to leak info to the merchants and release everyone except the 200 highest value captives. Kane completely froze. Why release them after so much hard work? Was he actually planning to negotiate with the humans? Nan calmly replied that he planned to squeeze them dry, but Kane quickly warned him with deep concern. With all due respect, this is too soon. Our power is limited, and we shouldn't trigger a war with humanity. Nan explained that they had to closely monitor several human nations. First, the holy nation of Ilix, the only religious state. Second, the Bismar Empire, ruled by a crowned emperor. And finally, the Northern Alliance, which is composed of 7 massive northern fortresses. For common people, they are a huge threat, but refusing to negotiate is absurd. Right now, they cannot deploy troops. For starters, they were the ones who invaded our land, so the blame lies entirely on the humans. Siri lowered her head in disappointment, whispering that it was totally fine this time. If they refuse to pay the ransom, they lose their people's trust, and honestly, that's a brilliant move you and I must analyze later. Let's dive into this wild chaos together. Seeing his doubt, Nan nodded seriously. Keep these words in mind. For a demon lord, keeping the foundation strong is everything. Cain bowed his head, accepting Lord Naan's wise words. I will choose them purely based on market value, Nan continued. Also, I need you to gather expert blacksmiths. We will need them to prepare certain products. Shortly after, the Emperor of Bismar received the ransom note by mail. Staring coldly at the paper he spoke, I have lived a long time and never received such an insolent letter from demons. I always thought the demon realm was nothing more than a playground for high-level adventurers. A minister analyzed the situation. It does not seem like they are acting out of pure greed to destroy our human world. If that were the case, those simple-minded creatures would have already declared open war on us. The ruler asked, What is the ransom price? The minister replied, For every 10 people they demand 50 kilos of gold, 100 of silver, and 2 tons of iron, even if she did not get a present. Just like the game, the castle's treasury was completely empty. The emperor scoffed with absolute disdain. This is no simple demand. They seem to underestimate us. Should we not teach them a lesson? But the minister quickly advised him to accept the demands for the greater good. This incident was entirely caused by the reckless actions of the local adventurers' guild. We have no reason to punish them. The emperor frowned. Does justifying ourselves even matter? They are just simple demons. Watch closely now, because the minister gravely replied, It matters immensely. We cannot accurately measure the enemy's true power. Many of the warriors who fought were nearly high rank, and yet not a single one managed to escape with their life. Every single one was captured. The emperor exploded in fury. Are we not a grand empire? Are we supposed to bow our heads and let those mindless beasts walk all over us? The minister continued. If rumors spread that you abandoned your people, the public rage will be impossible to control. After a long, tense silence, the emperor finally gave in. Tell them we accept the terms of the agreement. Worrying over the cost of a single toy was just too tragic. So Nan realized he had to step in and fix things, and use all our resources to gather intel on the demon realm. One day this great humiliation will be repaid tenfold. Shortly after, the butler Cain informed Nan that only one nation had failed to respond to the letter. But the Bismar Empire, the Holy See, and the Northern Alliance have already agreed to negotiate delivery tomorrow morning. I made the meeting point extremely clear in the note. Nayan nodded, highly pleased. Tell the emissaries this. If there is no response by the weekend, we will handle the remaining prisoners ourselves. Meanwhile, the dwarven blacksmiths Nan had invited had already arrived at the Grand Castle. You and I both know how crazy things get when Seer and Citri team up. The blacksmiths froze as Nan welcomed them. I imagine you are all wondering why I have summoned you here today. Then Citri uncovered the weapon rack, displaying the fine detailed human weapons they kept stored inside. Seeing them, the dwarven craftsman could not help but rush over to examine them with close attention. He gently knelt down and asked if he could temporarily manage the castle's finances until she was ready to take over. Citri explained they belonged to the captured adventurers. Nan added, And that is exactly why I called you today. I want you to analyze every weapon and replicate them with the same quality. But a dwarf grumbled. What nonsense is this? Is our ancient craft so pathetic that we must copy human trash? Nan replied coldly, If you understand, get to work. Stop wasting precious time making half-hearted weapons. And honestly, the truth is Nan was absolutely right. He stared at them all and asked, if a human sword clashed directly against yours, what do you think would actually happen? I am not asking you to simply copy them. study their design, and use that knowledge to forge something superior. At that moment, one blacksmith stepped forward accepting the challenge. I can do it. But I do not know their forging technique, so the analysis will take time. Nan asked Seer and Citri for their opinion. Can I appoint this blacksmith as the leader of the research? Neither of them had any objections, so Nan put him in charge and pinned a medal on him, granting him absolute authority to lead the entire group. Seeing the little girl's confused face, Nan knew she did not fully grasp the massive scale of his offer. The crowd began to murmur with discontent. Many believed the leader should have been chosen through a fair vote. Nan frowned and silenced them instantly. A true leader steps forward and takes full responsibility for everything. You did not even have the courage to speak. So, what right do you have to talk about leadership? Disobeying his orders is a direct insult to the will of these two demon queens. If any of you dare to disobey, I will execute you on the spot. Afterward, Citri eagerly waited for Nan to praise her, but Nan praised Seer instead, ignoring her. A hilarious twist to end on. All right, you and I are about to watch how Nan, after sending Citri packing, prepares to negotiate their new business profits. Since Citri only lent her name without lifting a single finger for the actual work, her cut was never going to be huge. Yet she started by demanding a 50-50 split, leaving Nan and Seer totally disappointed. That wasn't a negotiation at all. It was outright robbery. But realizing Nan would just find someone else, she quickly lowered her demand to 10%. Then he looked at the butler and clarified that it was not about lack of skill, but utilizing everyone's specific talents. Still, even that 10% was too much for Nan. After all, profits come with risks, and inventory value and market prices are constantly shifting. After some intense haggling, Nan got it down to 5%, which was still going to yield Citri an insane fortune. To the Demon Kings, the standard weapons were practically useless, which is why their own weapons research was so far behind. To be fair, demons weren't worse blacksmiths than humans, but a single Demon King could never manage all of it alone. That is exactly why their military gear quality was so critical. Now, watch closely as they sign Nan casually drops that her entire payout will actually be military hardware, completely freezing Citri. Weren't allies supposed to receive these weapons for free? Citri asked, but Nan just responded with absolute cold composure. Obviously not. Besides, if this venture fails, the only reputation on the line is yours, Your Majesty Citri. I hope you understand that there is no such thing as a free lunch. So let me handle what I do best. Night fell quickly, and down in the dungeons, hopeless human prisoners huddled in despair. One softly whispered, "Do not lose hope, Ellie." But Ellie saw no way out. It had been days with zero rescue, and instead they just kept bringing in more prisoners. Do you honestly believe they are going to let us live? Right then, Nan and Kane arrived at the cells to review the list of captives scheduled for transfer. One single look was enough for the two humans to realize Nan was a big deal, radiating an overwhelming pressure. Moments later, soldiers began dragging away prisoners from the list, spiking the sheer panic of both young captives. They had no idea where they were going. Were they about to be executed? Right then, Nan stopped in front of them, asking for their names. The boy was Dan, and the pink-haired girl Ellie. Nan asked about a guy named Luke. You saw that reaction too, right? They both screamed that his men took him. Nan instantly connected the dots. I see, so he was the one active over in Saute City, right? Soon I will place Siri far above all the other demon kings. As he spoke, the little girl gently tugged his sleeve. Naan grabbed a pen and paper from Keem beside him and immediately began sketching the man's face. The second the prisoners saw the portrait, they instantly confirmed the man in the drawing was indeed Luke. Thanks to Kane Neon, remembered that Commander Al had brainwashed Luke and sent him over to So City. Naan couldn't believe his insane luck. Once this was wrapped up, he would personally bring these two humans to his office. You have to remember, high-tier humans were just as dangerous as any other high-level demon king. In the game, if human hostility crossed a certain limit, 3 incredibly powerful heroes would be summoned. One was Luke, the sword hero. Naan never expected that Guildmaster would actually eliminate a brainwashed target. By pure luck, he wiped out a future hero. Plus, Luke's companions Dan and Ellie were also top tier in the game. Selling them off as mere slaves would be a massive waste. Naan told them they would serve him from now on. Kane frowned in alarm, asking what he was thinking. That is when he recognized him. It was Kane, the loyal servant from the game's opening sequence. Staring up at him, she earnestly requested that since she trusted him, he should make lots of money for the kingdom. We cannot let them near Demon King Sierra. Keeping humans around will only bring disaster upon us. Naan simply replied he had his reasons, telling Kane not to worry before looking at the prisoners, asking what they thought. If you accept, I will spare your lives and reward your talents. Of course, you are free to refuse. You can rot in this cell. Dan gritted his teeth in anger, asking what would happen if they stayed. Naan calmly replied, you will either be sold off as miserable slaves or end up 6 feet under like your friend. Dan snapped, demanding how he could say that so easily when they were the ones who took Luke. Naan didn't deny it. True, but we didn't kill him. That was the Guildmaster of Soot City. We only sent him to work and he was murdered. Dan's face fell, realizing Luke died because of Master Adalbert. Even so, Dan outright refused to ever serve a demon king. But right at that moment, Ellie spoke up. Will you really let us live? She asked, accepting his offer. Dan stared at her, completely shocked by her choice. Naan smiled to himself. Trusting him was the perfect choice, especially since a gold mine was about to knock on their door. Are you crazy, Ellie? Trusting a demon? She just smiles. Is there really any difference? That is where we leave it today. Without money, they ignore you, and without power, they look down. Stick with me to see how this cruel fate changes. Remember how they treated us. I do not want to die, and I absolutely refuse to end up as a mere slave. I will risk everything, even making a deal with a demon. Hearing Ellie say this, Dan grit his teeth and chose to stay too. Then keep your promise. What do you want us to do now? Nan said calmly. Start training right this second. As you are right now, you are completely useless. I will give you 3 years. Fail. And say goodbye to your future. The next day, Nan took Seer outside to practice swordsmanship. According to his inherited memories, she possessed some pretty decent talent. The only problem was that Seer was holding on tightly to her little white teddy bear. Nayan warned her that if she kept holding the bear, it would be impossible to train properly. After thinking for a moment, Seer slowly set the bear aside. Her willingness to let go, even briefly, showed her absolute trust in Nan. Next, Nan continued her energy control training. Even with few circuits, her raw power reserves were completely out of this world. Siri whispered sweetly, Bear, I will be right back. Wait here. As training began, Nan showed her how to hold the weapon. To his surprise, Sire posture was nearly perfect on her very first try. Nayan demonstrated how to swing the sword, driving the blade down with force toward the front. Seeing that Siri copied his move, ready to strike, pay close attention here because something unbelievable is about to happen. Naan instantly unleashed his mana to shield her. Right away, a massive blast of energy erupted, heading straight for the distant wall. Witnessing the immense power unleashed by the blood tear sword, even Nan was left completely speechless. This seemed completely different from how it worked in the game. It looked like future lessons would require wooden swords. Just then, Siri spoke up softly, saying she had something important to share. It seems some humans entered the castle and I even saw a girl among them. What do you think they want? Naan explained that he had taken those two in himself, but they had to grow strong on their own. For the 72nd Demon Queen at the absolute bottom of the rankings, the only one he would teach personally was Siri. She puffed out her cheeks, arguing that was not true, since he trained Citri too. That is strictly business, Nan clarified. Keeping a good relationship with her will bring us massive benefits. Siri looked at him and asked if he would always be her only master. Nan gently replied that of course he would. You are my only disciple. Siri's face finally lit up, thrilled that her master felt the exact same way. At that moment, the butler Kane leaned in to whisper to Nan that Siri's birthday was just around the corner. Over the next few days, Nan seemed distracted while training Citri. She noticed his worry and urged him to share what was on his mind. She wanted to help. So Nan confessed that Siri's birthday was coming up. I bet you have also struggled to find that perfect gift. Hearing that, Citri smiled with quiet resignation. Thinking they had argued, she hoped to pull Nan away, suggesting simple gifts Siri might love like sweet cakes or plush toys. But Nan wanted to prepare something far more special. Such massive potential was unheard of. At this rate, Nan did not have to worry about her progress. This would make her happy, boost her affection, and bring him closer to the perfect ending. Besides, Siri adored shiny things. Nayan recalled she had taken a crown from storage a while back, but it was way too big for her to wear. Citri offered the ideal solution, suggesting they ask an artisan to redesign it. The catch. The crown was hidden in Seir's room. To surprise her, they had to sneak it out. At nightfall, the maid Cecily volunteered to join this fun infiltration mission. Since Siri had headed to the dining room for some pudding, this was their ultimate window of opportunity. However, just as they were about to open the door, Seir suddenly came running in from outside. It turned out Seir had felt non-mana a while ago, nearly ruining the entire surprise right then and there. Thinking fast, Nan made up an excuse saying it was a beautiful night and inviting her for a stroll. The rest was up to Cecily. Looking up at the gorgeous full moon outside, Siri's eyes sparkled with pure delight. Naan realized Seir truly was captivated by shiny things. That crown would absolutely make the best possible birthday present. He wanted to push her harder, but Seir's stamina drained fast. So he told her to rest before starting physical training. Naan told her softly that she should grow up healthy and to let him know immediately if anything felt too difficult. Siri answered with absolute sincerity that she adored her master and his lessons, so nothing felt hard to her. I am glad, he said tenderly, but tell me if you feel unwell. Rest is just as vital as study. With all his heart, Nan hoped Seir would preserve this sweet innocence forever. Right then, Cecily signaled that the mission was a success. Naan grabbed the crown and headed straight to floor 70 to find the blacksmith. There he asked to have the crown resized. Trust me, You are going to absolutely love his plan to make her happy. At last, Seer's gift was ready, so come with me to set up the grand birthday party. But returning to the castle, Nan found two maids comforting the little girl softly, reassuring her that he would be back very soon. They offered her some pudding while she waited, but she just cried and shook her head, refusing to eat a single bite. Suddenly, she sensed Nan's presence. With a heart full of joy, she ran straight into his arms for comfort. Soon after, tiny Seer began running her warm-up laps. Deeply worried Nan asked her what was wrong and why she was crying. The maid explained that because he left without warning, the terrified little girl thought he had abandoned her forever. Naan whispered that he only went to handle something, gently apologizing for leaving so suddenly without telling her. After plenty of warm hugs and comforting words, the little girl's crying finally quieted down. Seeing her sad face, Nan promised he would never leave her, pledging to protect her until she grew up, even until she reached the very top. She looked up, asking if he would leave once she became strong. Naan hesitated for a second. He knew that once he achieved the perfect ending, he must return to his real world. But unable to break her heart, he told a sweet lie, assuring her that he would never leave. I will always be by your side. But don't blink here, because she instantly saw right through his sweet lie. Deep down, she sensed her master would leave one day, so she made a firm, silent decision right then. Even completely exhausted, she gripped that white plush toy tightly. Naan used the moment to ask Cain about her deep attachment. She would work her hardest to become irreplaceable and keep him by her side. And just like that, the big birthday arrived. That day she looked as beautiful as a real princess, surrounded by servants who lovingly prepared wonderful gifts. The little girl was absolutely thrilled, and that beautiful smile never faded from her face for even a second. Sitri also attended with her subordinates, bringing a custom golden statue, crafted especially for this big occasion. The little girl excitedly thanked her, admitting just how much she absolutely loved it. Just then, Nan had the blacksmith bring out the gift he prepared so far in advance. Obviously, this was the one present she was dying to see. When she opened the box, the glow of the gorgeous crown made her tiny eyes light up instantly. The giant piece of jewelry had been reshaped by the blacksmith to fit her adorable little head perfectly. Wearing the crown, her lively and incredibly adorable look charmed every single guest there. Once the grand feast finally ended, Nan gently carried her back to retire for the night. As her intense training sessions went on, strands of her white hair slowly started turning crimson red. Cain confessed it was her father's gift for her 5th birthday back when he still ruled the realm. That meant her magic was stabilizing. Now watch closely, because Nan noticed something very strange happening to her. Gently brushing the hair away from her forehead, he discovered the little girl was actually growing horns. Naan rushed to ask Cain if something was wrong, but the servant only looked extremely confused by the question. It is totally normal for the Demon King to grow horns. Remember that Lady Sitri has them too, my lord. Hearing those words, Nan finally breathed a sigh of relief, calming down, knowing the child was completely fine. As they spoke, Nan could not help but gently pat the tiny new horns. Seeing this, Cain quickly warned him they were highly sensitive and needed careful handling. The very next day, since the blacksmiths successfully copied human weapons, Nan took the little girl along to inspect the final results. Hearing Nan would test the sword himself, the smith got incredibly nervous about failing, but Nan comforted him, saying it was all right. Failure teaches us far more than success ever can. We just need to learn from mistakes to improve. It was the very last keepsake she had left of him, so she protected it with her life everywhere she went. Gripping the weapon, he noticed the metallic gleam and The weight were almost identical to real human gear. He told Seer to step back to stay safe. Right away, Nan brought down a massive, powerful strike onto the sword lying on the table. To everyone's utter shock, the smith's blade withstood the impact without a single scratch. It was an undeniable success. A pleased Nan mentioned they just needed to sharpen the edge a bit more for the product to be fully finished. He handed over production of the remaining military gear, telling them he had massive expectations for their valuable craftsmanship. Soon, strange rumors reached Floor 69 about incredibly rare weapons being sold down on level 70. But Duke Wayne shrugged off the news, insisting that baseless gossip did not deserve any of his attention. Even so, they insisted the weapons were real-looking, exactly like human gear, and made entirely locally. His companion laughed, scoffing that they had to be smuggled goods. He guessed the supply was probably too tiny to be a real business. Duke Wayne thought for a second, admitting it might just be a silly rumor. Inside the mansion, Kane repeated his exact in-game actions, bowing low before the completely bewildered Nan. I know you and I want to see her get revenge, but Nan is waiting for the perfect moment to reveal the harsh truth. But he had to check. And that is how you and I end up traveling to level 70 to solve this mystery. Get ready, because today we are watching Citri take the stage welcoming everyone who traveled all this way just for a rumor. Someone spotted Seer in the crowd, immediately realizing that having the Demon Queen show up here was completely unexpected. After all, the alliance between these two powerful Demon Queens was no longer a secret. This clearly wasn't just Citri's business, which meant they'd all have to tread very carefully moving forward. Citri proudly swore on her name as Demon Queen that these weapons were forged by her own hands, easily matching the best human quality. A Demon Queen putting her own reputation on the line showed just how much faith she had in these goods. Non-men warned that they'd only share secrets with those who were genuinely ready to do business. If you have no intention of buying, you can walk out that door right now. But if you stay, prepare to trade. If you stay and buy absolutely nothing, do not expect to leave this room alive. Come along with me as this intense drama begins just as Seer's servant arrives with a letter from the 71st floor. Now pay attention here. After hearing that brutal threat, many merchants bolted right out the door. The select few who chose to remain hoped to seize this moment and ally directly with the demon lords. As the meeting started, Nan stepped down and revealed that he had masterminded this entire deal, leaving everyone utterly speechless. A mere human had successfully partnered with two demon lords. Nan looked straight at Duke Wayne, laying out two highly enticing offers. First up, the weapons trade. For the next 3 years, I will give you sole rights to sell our gear across the demon realm, splitting the profits 60% for me and 40% for you. Honestly, this was already an incredible deal. Nan then gestured right toward the display table. The sword on the left belongs to humans, while the right one is ours. Go ahead and compare them. Sizing up the forged weapons, the crowd showered them with praise. The sheer craftsmanship was breathtaking. Securing exclusive rights to these products for 3 whole years was a golden ticket. Duke Wayne immediately asked about their expected stock. The 71st floor. What could they possibly demand now? Kane's massive anxiety here was completely understandable. 400 blades a month, Nan replied. That averaged out to 20 per person. Someone frowned in concern. Isn't that way too low, Howie? Nan nodded calmly. You are right, but our merchandise goes far beyond mere swords. We are offering to trade almost every kind of martial gear with you. Right now, that list includes swords, spears, axes, shields, helmets, and full sets of heavy and light armor. Hearing about such a massive catalog, they knew this was a massive business opportunity. Duke Wayne quickly asked about the second proposal. In the game, Wayne held the title of president of a massive merchant guild. His massive influence was completely undeniable. You and I both know that winning over such a powerful ally was absolutely vital for Nan. Next, Nan planned to lead the merchants straight into the dungeon to showcase what he had prepared. Pointing at the captive humans, Nan announced these were the prisoners from floor 72. One shocked merchant asked if he meant slave trading. Naan calmly answered that this indeed was his second offer, having already handpicked the most valuable assets from the crowd. In this harsh world, a single rank difference meant a massive, insurmountable gap in military power, strength, and wealth. An opportunity like this won't happen again, so if anyone catches your eye, feel free to pick them right now. Even as slaves, humans were notoriously tough to keep in line, and to make matters worse, most demons flat out despised them. But for those holding real power, the story was different. They looked at these captives and saw an absolute gold mine. Ultimately, after weighing the offer, only 5 merchants chose to stay. Satisfied with this perfect group size, Nan kept breaking down the utility of his captives, pointing out the pure muscle labor forces first. These are perfect for hard labor, while those others are meant for entertainment. They have quite decent looks, and these over here are elite bodyguards with combat skills rivaling human knights. Right then, one of the captured men slammed the iron bars in pure fury, screaming, "You damn bastards! Do not think I will ever serve you, just kill me already if you have the guts." Nan knew humans were incredibly stubborn. At this rate, chaos was bound to break out sooner or later, but he was already steps ahead of them. But Cain had nothing to fear because this was the exact opportunity Nan had been waiting for all this time. In the very next instant, a bizarre sigil flared on the rebel's neck, even as he continued screaming curses non-stop. Suddenly, a devastating burst of pure energy erupted, completely vaporizing him in the blink of an eye. Nayan coldly explained that every slave has an active curse on their neck, allowing owners to easily set the trigger for punishment. If you're still worried about obedience, we can also apply an extra layer of direct mind control. A bit later, at Bennett's shop on floor 69, the merchants who walked out realized the weapons he purchased possessed absolutely mind-blowing quality. They even offered double. You and I definitely cannot miss what happens next. Come along with me, because Bennett signed the contract only he could sell the weapons without anyone else reselling them. This meant he was about to completely monopolize merchandise of such incredible quality. Then Bennett ordered his subordinates to promote the auction to high-ranking demons who were always eager for new toys. Before long, Nan received an invitation to a slave auction. Soon, the day arrived when the demon queen of the 71st floor made her grand entrance exactly as Nan predicted. Nayan decided to go in person since nothing was urgent at the castle, and he could bring those 2 humans along. Days later, they arrived at Bennett's department store on the 69th floor. Nayan walked with Siri, admiring the glittering items, while the 2 humans he brought along whispered to each other, "Is that cute little girl really the Demon King? And why bring us here?" The owner rushed over to greet them. "Welcome, Your Majesty, Seer Lord Nan. We want to browse. Do you have any magic items?" Nan asked. The owner quickly led them toward the back of the store. He was surprised to see the humans, but Nan brushed it off. "Now, pay attention here." He led them to a hidden armory. Seeing what was inside, Dan and Ellie could not hide their shock. Are all of these magic items, and they all look like top-tier quality. Nayan looked at them and said to pick something useful for their research. Ellie's eyes lit up in excitement. Really, even the driver guiding the carriage was no ordinary person. Then Citri Queen of the 71st floor elegantly stepped out. It was an artifact capable of storing mana. Since humans do not generate mana, it was safe for her. Right then, Non noticed Ciri was acting a bit jealous. He knelt, patted her head, and asked if she wanted to choose something too. Soon, Seer picked the brightest necklace in the room. Nahan examined it and found it quite good. It had a protective charm designed to keep the wearer safe. Then, he ordered the owner to find suitable magic items for Dan and Ellie, promising he would pay the bill later. Afterward, Nan asked how much time they had left before they had to leave. "If we head out right now," the owner replied, "we will arrive just in time." Meanwhile, at the auction hall, a human slave was being offered at a starting price of 5 gold coins. Seeing that Dan and Ellie finally understood that Nan had brought them here as a warning, Nan planned well, using auctions to raise profits. "But I know what you're thinking," just then Seer pointed to the humans and asked why he didn't sell them. Nahan bowed his head to show proper respect, while Citri watched him with a flicker of genuine interest in her eyes. They look quite valuable. They could bring in good money, which Nan then explained. "Because I need subordinates too, just like you have Leah and Cecily by your side. Besides, there are things only humans do well." Seer nodded seriously, and Nan looked at Dan and Ellie. "Do you regret accepting my offer?" Meanwhile, they both watched the slaves being auctioned down below. Without Nan, they themselves could have been standing on that auction stage. So both admitted that accepting his offer was the best decision of their lives, which satisfied Nan. 5 years passed, and Seir's mana improved tremendously. Nan looked at her, saying she had worked incredibly hard. "How about we change rooms today? Are we going somewhere fun?" Ciri asked, full of hope. Naan replied that it might not be fun, but it was definitely a lesson she needed to learn. Today, the 2-year weapons contract was expiring, and the merchants approached Nan to renegotiate terms. "My, you saw right through Baphomet's disguise. You are certainly no ordinary man," she said, and Nan replied calmly. But Nan believed his faction had no obligation to accept those conditions. They had already secured enough distribution channels and no longer depended on the original merchants. Maybe it was time to give other merchants hope, so they would offer better deal conditions in return. Ciri seriously noted that maintaining a monopoly was unwise, but they could give preferential treatment to their current partners. Naan nodded. At the same time, he learned the human kingdom was in total chaos due to the start of the Northern War. With this happening, they could temporarily ignore the human kingdom and focus on strengthening their own faction. But that was not Nan's main reason. He looked at Seer and asked if she remembered his plan to ruin Dantalion's credibility because it was time to start. Naan spoke clearly with the merchants, simply telling them they would not renew the exclusive contract. "Would a common man mentor a queen?" he asked, and she smirked, replying, "How interesting you are, absolutely right. You made plenty of profit over these 5 years. Instead, I propose a new deal that you and I will uncover soon. Come along with me. We just need this rumor to spread further. In exchange, we will offer more prisoners and slaves." Bennett could not help but ask Lord Nan, "Is this intel actually real?" Nan responded with absolute calm, "Do you actually doubt the information I gave you? I thought we had built enough trust by now." Bennett fell completely silent for a moment. He knew spreading the rumor would make Dantalion an enemy, but cutting ties with Nan right now would be absolute madness. Sayers whispered, Master, we have other partners. Why focus on them? Because they have already proven their loyalty, Nan replied quietly. And they are willing to take risks for profit. Bennett finally made up his mind they could not miss an opportunity like this. Our alliance with Lord Naan is crucial for making money. With that, as negotiations wrapped up, the merchants finally departed. At that moment, Sitri doubted if Naan's data was truly reliable.